المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Respected Professor Dr. Ida Madiha, Dean, Center for Postgraduate Studies, IIUM. Respected Professor Dr. Faiza Idrus, Lecturer Kulli of Education, IIUM. Respected Sister Damia, Sister Maz, and Senior Administrative Directors of CPS and all new students of IIUM. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. Dear brothers and sisters, I will be the moderator of this session. My name is Burhan, Secretary, Postgraduate Student Society, PGSS IIUM, and I am doing PhD in Islamic Banking and Finance. Welcome all new students to the Garden of Knowledge and Virtue again. Before proceed to the main agenda, may we recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillah. Okay, moving forward, today is the last day of the ARUF. We have two sessions, morning and afternoon. Morning session will be on proposal writings and editing skills and using academic language in thesis writing. Afternoon session will be on thesis formatting. So without delay now, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Faiza Idrus, Lecturer Kulli of Education, IIUM, for her presentation. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to everybody. Thank you, Brother Burhan, the maybe moderator. Yeah. Probably you want to, because I won't be able to get all the questions. Maybe you want to write it down for me. Yeah. Maybe.
Sure.
Right. Professor Dr. Ida Madiha. Center for Postgraduate Studies, staff of Postgraduate Studies, and especially the new intake students. Welcome to the Garden of Knowledge and Virtue. I'm sure you have been greeted with this many times. And I can't get enough of being in the Garden of Knowledge and Virtue. So inshallah, your journey begins at or in the Garden of Knowledge and Virtue, and we will make use of the term appropriately. Okay, so today I am Dr. Faiza from Kuliah of Education, and I am my teaching background or my field is in the area of English language teaching. Specifically in sociolinguistics. But today, I'm going to take you through on how, as new students, you are going to prepare to write your proposal. Very important to get your proposal right, okay? So I'm sure there will be new students trickling in. Brother Burhan, we are recording this session, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so let me start by sharing my PowerPoint. Okay, right. And how to write a research proposal. I am, to just let you know that I'm not going to touch on editing because editing will be right at the end, or as you go along, you edit, you proofread and probably edit. But the editing part of the whole thesis will come towards the end of your thesis writing. So that's why I'm not going to touch on editing, but I'm going to touch a little bit on editing when in the second topic, language in academic writing. But for now, let's concentrate on how you want to write a good research proposal. Okay, so let's begin, inshallah. If you have any questions.
Sorry, Prof. Can you make a presentation mode the slide?
Yeah. Okay, sure. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let me use this. Okay, so I'm blocked. So let's see if I can get it. Okay, let's here. Slideshow. From beginning. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Now clear.
Right. Okay. The rest have their videos off, yeah, Burhan?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. So I am not able to see you. I can only see Brother Burhan. So this is normally what I don't do. I always communicate with people by looking at them so that I know that they really understand what I'm trying to say. But unfortunately today, I'm not able to see your beautiful, handsome faces, except for our handsome Brother Burhan, but it's okay. If you have any question, please turn on your video so that I can see you, yeah? So let's look at what I have for you today. What is this presentation all about? Of course, it's about writing or preparing or constructing your research proposal. And the other question, why do I write a research proposal? Of course, you know why. You know why you are here, whether you're doing your master's degree, whether you are doing your PhD. So you know why you are here today and you know why you are in the ARUF. So I'm not sure if any of you are unsure, why am I here? So if that is the case, then you have to rethink of, should I be here or not? Yeah. So I'm sure that you have set your mind to be here and to forge forward of doing a postgraduate study. Okay. So when do I start writing the title? Or when do I write a research proposal? Who will read or examine? How long? This is a very common question by students. Okay. How long should it be? Do I have to defend my research proposal? Okay, so those are the normal questions asked by postgraduate students. Okay, now, what is a research proposal before getting into more detail? So many scholars or many writers have defined research proposal in a different way. So it is various terminologies used to mean research proposal depending on why the research is carried out. So actually it's an outline, it can be your synopsis, it can be your plan, and yeah, research proposal, you are proposing. So it is a plan. So it is not like a death certificate, right? So some students, they have this in their mind that when you have your research proposal, you cannot change anymore. I have to stick by it. So don't do that because it's just a plan, okay? A plan is bound to change. A plan is bound to fail. Na'udzubillah, we don't want to fail. A plan is bound to progress. A plan is bound to not progress, which we do not want. So which one do you want? Of course, you want a plan that will work. So that is what you want, yeah? So that's why we have to know, especially as a new student in this university, you have to find out, you have to do a background, especially from your kuliah. What are the requirements? Because you are given the handbook, right? Are you given a handbook? So I cannot ask this question. You are given a student handbook, whereby in the handbook, you have a general requirements for postgraduate studies, as well as from your kuliah, there are certain guidelines and requirements and criteria that you need to fulfill. Okay, so different kuliahs will have slightly different requirements. Okay, so what I'll be talking to you in this session is probably what most kuliah do, and if it's slightly different, probably you have to find that out. Okay, so moving on. Again, it's like a blueprint. You know what blueprint is? If you are from Malaysia, have you read the education blueprint? That's a blueprint. That is a plan of a project and the description of all the different activities in the blueprint. So your research proposal is a kind of blueprint. All right. And some sort of preconceived framework. Okay, I know a framework is like something that is taboo. I cannot say taboo. When a student hears the word framework, they become agitated. So what do I do? You know, so don't fret. Don't worry with all the different terminologies. So you are here in this university because you are going to start learning the different terminologies, the different terms. Terminologies are terms. The different words that people use in postgraduate studies. Okay, so just remember, put that in your head that you are no more an undergraduate. So you have to shake that out of your way. I am no more an undergraduate student. I am a postgraduate doing master's and PhD. Thus, you have to have, if your undergraduate studies are you had a good plan, then carry on. But in postgraduate studies, you have a slightly different plan. Okay, so deals with ideas of researcher about what research he or she wants to do, objectives, methodology that you have set, how much time and resources are required. Okay. So you have to start asking yourself, how much time do I have? For master's program, when you embark on a master's degree or PhD degree, you have to know how much time I have on my hands. So whether 2 years, 1.5, that's very good if you can do that. And for PhD, 3 years, 4 years, or 10 years. Now we don't allow 10 years, right? We used to allow back then. You can do bit by bit and accumulatively. Some people have done it in 10 years, but you are not allowed to do that now. So you have to know how much time do you have, all right? So that when we know this, you have the timeline. So that's why it's very important to have a timeline. So when you know that this timeline, then you will be able to start planning. Okay, from now is February, March, April, May, June, half year. Where are you? So in fact, you have to have this before you start your courses, before you start anything. So if you want to have a sample of timeline, I can give it to you later on if you ask from me. So it's very important for a postgraduate student to have a proper timeline. Timeline is not exhibition. It's not for you to put it on your computer and look at it every day, or paste it on your wall and watch it or look at it every time you want to go to sleep. No, it's not like that. Timeline is for you. So make your timeline workable, so that's why when we do timeline, the timeline should be realistic. Okay, so what is realistic and unrealistic timeline? So that's why you have to know, for example, you have 3 years or 4 years. So, and for example, in half yearly, what have I achieved? What should I achieve? Okay, so we will talk about timeline a bit more later on. And then, so all this deals with ideas of researcher, what research, what you want to do, what research. I'm sure when you applied for postgraduate studies, you have slightly an idea of what you want to do, the field that you want to do. But if you don't, I think when you applied, you have already submitted a proposal, a rough proposal. So that why there's postgraduate office or Center for Postgraduate Studies required you to have a proposal, because number one, you have to have an idea of what you want to do, a rough idea. It's okay if it's very blurry or vague. Number two, we want to find whether or not there is an expert that can deal with your topic, all right, in your kuliah. So that's very important, so that your topic and your potential supervisor, it matches. Okay, so the problem starts when the two of you, you and your supervisor, actually do not understand each other. So that's another big topic to talk about. All right, but anyway, when you apply to do your postgraduate studies, you already have a plan. All right. Okay, so objective methodology, we'll talk about that later. Time and resources, I've mentioned this now. Is an individual or research institute, now it's individual, formal offer to produce a product or render service. Okay, it depends on what kind of research you are going to do. In short, you are proposing a work frame for completing the research. Whether you are doing a mixed mode, you are doing, I don't know whether mixed mode still exists, whether you're doing by coursework or by research only, it's all the same that you are going, this is actually your work frame, okay? The proposal is a work frame. Whether or not you are going to defend your proposal, it all depends on the mode. What mode? Are you doing a directed research? Are you doing a full research? Normally, you have to defend your proposal if you are taking the full research mode, whether you are a master's student or PhD student. And normally at Kuliah of Education, when someone is doing a full research, master's or PhD, you are going to defend your proposal in front of a few panels. Okay, so we have external examiners, external examiner, just one for masters, and internal examiner, just one for masters, full research. And for PhD, you will have 2 external examiners outside from IIUM, and you have 1 internal examiner. So if you are, even if you are doing your research, you are defending your research proposal, we are going to send your proposal to an external examiner for them to evaluate, and then you have will have your kuliah will decide when you have to defend your proposal, and once that is done, you can start doing the next step, which is data collection and all that. So you have to, I'm not sure whether you, I think you have already decided whether you are going to do directed research or you are going to do full research. Okay, it depending on you yourself. If you are still thinking, I don't know about the ways or the requirement from CPS, whether or not, if you, but you cannot just change, I want this, now I want a directed research. And then tomorrow you say, no, I'm going to do bio research only. And the next day you say directed research. Okay, so you are not, actually you do not know what those modes are. So before thinking of changing modes, you have to think hard and long. What do I want? What is my plan? So you have to talk to someone. You have to talk to your seniors if you have, you know them. You have to talk to your supervisor if you have one already. If you don't, maybe you want to just Google, okay, Google it up. So the benefits, advantages, disadvantages of doing, doing directed research or full research. Okay, so we're not talking about that today. We are talking about how you write your research proposal. But if you want to ask me about that, no problem. Okay. Now, a research proposal is intended to convince others. Okay, so before you convince others, you have to convince yourself that I know what I'm doing. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, okay, I know what I'm doing, or I'm not too sure what I'm doing. So there are a lot of procedures about that. Okay, so before you write, so it is intended to convince others that you have a worthwhile research project and that you have the competence and the work plan to complete it. So your research proposal must be workable, number one, doable, don't be too ambitious, and convincing. Convincing to you and convincing to your supervisor. And of course, it has to be convincing to your future external and internal examiners. Okay, so how do you know it's convincing or not convincing? So that's a hard question to answer. But as you go along, starting to write, then you will begin to realize, okay, I think I know what I'm doing. That is a good sign. Okay. Now, generally, a research proposal should contain all the key elements involved in a research process and include sufficient information for the readers to evaluate the proposed study. Okay, so you have to have all the information. Okay, a proposal only needs chapter 1, which is your introduction, and of course, chapter 1 is very important because if chapter 1 goes wrong, then everything else probably is not right. Okay, because in chapter 1 you have your problem statement, you have your research question, research objective, the significance of the studies, and so on and so on and so forth. So this is very important because your supervisor or your examiners later on will actually look and meticulously read what you have written in, especially your objectives. Okay, whether your objectives are too ambitious or whether it's too small for a master's or postgraduate studies, that if that happens, if you are not sure, of course you have your supervisor to fall back on. Always have a good relationship, communication with your supervisor. Okay, very important. That is my advice to you. Okay, don't go missing for half a semester and coming back saying that you have problem. No. If someone does that to me, I will say adios. No, I won't do that. Of course not. But I will give my 2 cents to that person if the person goes missing and coming back and asking me for extension, especially. Okay, so you are not going to fall into that pit. Only seeing your supervisor when you want to ask for extension. No. Okay, regardless of your research area and the methodology you choose, all research proposals must address the following questions. What are your plans? What you plan to accomplish? What do you want? What do you want to do? Okay. Why you want to do it? Very important. I'm doing research because I have to. No, cannot. Why do you want to do it? Because, of course, you are not going to solve the problem of the world. That's too much. So we have to have a certain degree of problem that we want to overcome. Or if you cannot overcome, maybe you want to suggest, right? And how you are going to do it. Okay, how you are going to do it is It all depends on the methods that you are going to use. All right, very important. And the proposal should have sufficient information. Okay, to convince your readers that you have an important research idea, that you have a good grasp of the relevant literature and the major issues, and that your methodology is sound, is good, and you are good to go. Okay, so don't worry too much. Some people, they are worry whatever they do, they worry too much. Okay, so when you are doing your proposal, you have to have this in mind. Okay, what do I want to achieve, right? What do I want to achieve, and what is my plan, right? Okay, now, so let's go on to title. It should be concise and descriptive. So it all depends on what field you are. Okay, different fields will have slightly different ways of writing the title. Often titles are stated in terms of functions and relationship, because such titles clearly indicate the independent and dependent variables. However, if possible, think of an informative but catchy title. An effective title not only prigs the reader's interest, but also predisposes him or her favorably towards the proposal. So, you are writing, you are doing academic writing. You are not writing for a newspaper. You are not writing for a blog, or not writing for anything not non-academic. So, which means your title must be informative enough. When someone reads your title, the person would have an idea of what a whole thesis is all about, a rough idea, Okay, so can the title be a question? Answer my question. Can it be a question or not? Okay, let me see in the chat room. Can a question be, can a title be a question?
Cannot.
Why not? Why not? Okay, so most probably what you are doing, you are going to inform the reader or your examiner. When you ask a question, for example, what causes the pandemic? What causes the COVID-19 pandemic, for example? It's just an example. So that title probably is good for a blog, maybe a newspaper, a newsletter, you know, a very short, non-academic, maybe slightly academic paper. But you are going to write at least 40 pages. So I am not sure about, for me, in College of Education, we do not allow students to have a title that is a question. It should not be a question. Okay, that's why the title should be informative enough, not too long, not too short. Or you have one word title, COVID-19. So that's not a title. Okay, so avoid doing titles like that. So, and of course, at this point of time, do you have a title already? Okay, answer me. Do you have a title already? A rough title? Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Of course, when you applied for postgraduate study, maybe you have a proposal and with a title, right?
Yes.
Good. So you have a title. My question is, where did you get the title from? Okay, so probably it's from your own experience, probably from your reading, probably it's something that you like to do something that was done in your for PhD master's program, or for those doing masters, in your undergraduate maybe, yeah, and you want to explore it further. That's very good. You know, something that is continuous, that you want to get yourself, I want to be an expert in this area, so that's why you are continuing to do that. But don't be alarmed if you have a totally different title, because you want to embark on a different area. That is normal. But then, this is my caution to you. Don't do a title if the title is given to you by someone, by a supervisor, by a friend, by somebody, and probably a title that you don't know anything about and you are not interested in. Okay, so remember that your postgraduate studies it spans for maybe more than 2 years, for PhD more than 4 years. We don't want to go into 4 years lah. Okay, maybe you want to have 3 years, enough. You are going to graduate on time, GOT. That's a good student, GOT. Okay, we want, put it in our head that I will try, inshallah, to graduate on time. So that's why when you have a title, you have to be interested in it, so that it can sustain you for the next 2 or 3 years or 4 years. Okay, so if a title is given to you by someone, and someone says, okay, you do this title, or since you are doing a grant, let's say you are doing a research grant by your supervisor, okay, you are going to do this title, and deep down in your heart, you are not interested in that title. I have my own interest. Please, you have to say this out loud. You can tell the person, I can help with the research, but I have my own title to do, and I am interested in this title. Very important. So there are, I have experienced it, and I have students coming to me, let's say after 1 year, a year and a half, coming to me and say, actually, I'm not quite interested in this title. Okay, all right. So then I will have a long, friendly chat with the student. When I say long and friendly, those who have undergone, you are with me, then you know what kind of long and friendly talk. Okay, so that's why for now, like I said, you can change your title a bit. You can, but the most importantly, you have to have the area of interest. The title can, because it is a working title. It's not a death warrant. You can change, because working title is bound to change. You change a little bit here and there. All right. So any question about title? Anybody wants to ask anything about title? No?
Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam.
I'm Farhana, a PhD candidate in Islamic Banking and Finance. I just want to know whether do you have any example of how the title should be?
Okay, how the title should be is a very subjective. It's a very subjective discussion. All right. Yeah. How the title should be. Now, one I have mentioned just now, the title should be informative. Okay, most importantly, you have to Google it up. And if the title has been done too many times, it becomes cliche, meaning too many students have done it. So you want to avoid that title, because when a title becomes too cliche, or too many people have done it, you are going to have a difficulty to find a gap. So what is the gap? So what is new in my research? Because too many people have done it, and they have already bridged the gap. So what is your angle of your research now? If you know that title is too common, and you know that, okay, I am going to look at this title in a different angle. So at whatever angle that you want to work it out, and you have to write. Okay, so a lot of research has been done or have been done in this area, so you can mention it. However, a very scarce information is found on the one that you are going to do. Then that is okay. But I would suggest, if a title is too common, and then you are going to have I wouldn't say a very hard time to convince your examiner later on of why you have chosen a very common title. But of course, again and again, I am going to ask you to discuss with your supervisor. But then, to answer your question, what is
the example that good title.
Yeah, what is a good title? I cannot tell what is a good title or not, because it all depends on your area. And sometimes students have a title which tells them the variables of what is the content of the thesis. For example, if I want, okay, let's say we take the relationship between happiness and wealth and whatever. So when you say the relationship between happiness, wealth, and let's say spirituality, let's say, so from that three variables, happiness, wealth, and spirituality, I kind of know the content of the your thesis or your research, which is I think it's good. But then not all titles should be like that. Not all. For example, let's say we take one example of a thesis by one of my PhD students. Culturally responsive teaching in Malaysian schools, a case study. So what can you say about the title? Culturally responsive teaching in Malaysian Malaysian ESL classroom, for example, a case study. So when you have the word a case study, you know that the thesis is going to concentrate on a case or multiple cases, right? And you know it's about culturally responsive teaching. So that is informative enough for a person to, let's say you are done with your thesis and we put it online, okay, or open access. And if I happen to see that title, and I'm interested on CRT or culturally responsive teaching, I would go and search for that. So that is very important. Okay, so we do not want to have a very vague title, a one-word title. Okay, so and of course, sometimes quantitative and qualitative inquiry will slightly have the slant of title is different. Okay. Right? Some people, some students or some supervisors, they want to put the method. For example, the relationship between happiness, wealth, and spirituality, SEM, structure, SEM approach. Okay? Structural equation model approach or whatever methodology. So it all depends on you and your supervisor, but for me, I would avoid putting the approach there. But it's also good to have, so there are pros and cons, because if someone is going to do SEM, the person can easily look at your methodology. Okay, so this one uses SEM. This one uses Rush model, for example. Okay, so there are pros and cons. But let me tell you this: when I was doing my PhD abroad, we were told not to. Okay, we were told not to have that kind of title, SEM or Rush model in the title. So I don't know what I probably they explained, but I've forgotten.
Okay.
So it all depends on the university that you are in and the requirement and all sorts of things. But I think in IIUM, it's very common to have that as in your title. Very common. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
All right. Okay. Now, of course, abstract should be done last. Why do I say abstract should be done last? Because this, in 250 words, you are going to write everything that you have written. So that's why when you write your abstract, it has to be concise and precise, and you know that you have all this. You have all the details in your proposal. So although it will be done last, but I'm going to just take you through of what abstract is and what you have to avoid in doing or writing an abstract. You know, abstract is a brief summary of your proposal. And when you have finished writing your thesis, an abstract is about a summary of chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, the normal 5 chapters. So how much can you write in 250 words? Not much. So that's why we have to be very concise and precise, but all information is there. Okay, so it's a brief summary of approximately, again, it depends on the kuliah and the university. So normally, if you are writing an abstract for a conference, it's 250. Maybe for a thesis, a bit more, maybe 300 words. It should include, okay, so the problem statement. I'm going to take you through what a problem statement in a while. So this is where a lot of students stumble. Why? Because they don't have a problem. Okay, so why are you doing this title? Why are you doing this area? You are doing a research because there is a problem, not your personal problem. You know that there are quite a number of problems in that particular area, but we do not want to solve like I said just now, to solve the problems of the world. Okay, but what we want to do, we are aware that there is a pressing problem that needs attention and needs working with, and needs recommendations and suggestions on how to overcome that problem. So that's why you are doing this research, because there's a problem. A lot of students have problem in writing a problem statement. So don't forget and don't worry. You are going to get over that, because we need to really state the problem very clearly. All right. So problem statement. Actually, before a problem statement in one line, you should write an introduction to the abstract, just one line. Then you go into the problem statement. But quite a number of abstracts, they start with a problem statement, because you don't want to waste a lot of words, because it's very important for you to work through the 250 or 300 words given to you. Okay, so what is the purpose? You have the problem already. Now you have the problem that you want to overcome and try to overcome. Then you have your purpose. Okay, what is the purpose of doing? Of course, the purpose is trying to solve that problem, but your intention of exact intention, the objective of doing your research. What is the rationale? Why are you doing this? So there is a problem. So why are you interested in doing it? Maybe you want to say that this problem is still important, and it has not gone away. It still poses a lot of challenges to whoever, stakeholders or students or higher education institutions and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the rationale. And then what are the intended questions? Of course, in your abstract, you cannot write the questions to be answered are 1, 2, 3. No, that's not what the abstract is all about. So we want, as I have mentioned, we want to be concise. So you are going to write that question in a way that, okay, maybe something like this. This study seeks to answer the question of, now you rephrase the questions that you have written in your chapter 1. Okay, so that's why we want to do this last, so that we know what we are doing, and we know how to maneuver the writing a little bit. Okay, so intended question to be answered. The hypothesis, if any, if you're doing a quantitative research, then you have hypothesis. But if you're doing qualitative, you may not, you don't have a hypothesis. How are you going to do it? What method? How? What are the instruments? Okay, that you are going. So what method you are going to write the instrument? Okay, and what are the main findings only? You are not going to write in the abstract the answers that you have written for your RQ1, 2, 3. You have to put them in a way that okay, this is the main finding of my research question. So you are going to write it in 2 or 3 sentences only. Okay, methods carried. Okay, methods just now are up there. Methods. Okay, why am I repeating this? Okay, methods and main findings. And one thing I did not put here is what's next. Okay, so I have this. And I have the main findings. So you have to answer the question. So maybe you want to propose a continuity to this research, and you want to propose, you know, if a researcher wants to do something like this, so what do you propose? So in one sentence or so, you are going to write, you are going to answer the question, so what, at the end. Okay, another question that is always asked by students, should I write the abstract in present tense or past tense? Okay, so that's a valid question to answer, or to ask. Okay, if you have gone through, if you have read quite a number of abstracts, especially in conference papers, they write the abstract in present tense. Okay, and it is strongly suggested that, or recommended, that you write your abstract in present tense. Okay, so wherever needed, you can write in past tense. For example, the result that you have achieved. But normally in a thesis, if you can read a lot of thesis, they write abstract in the past tense because the study has been done, it's all is finished, and so that's why they write it in the past tense. But okay, this is my caution to you. You have to be consistent. So if you if you have started the abstract in the present tense, make sure you are consistent with the present tense. Unless you want to state something that is in the past, then that's okay. But then if you are writing it in the past tense, everything should be in the past tense. Be consistent. All right? Okay. Moving on. Okay. Okay, let's see. Example of an abstract. Okay, so let's look at this one. This study attempted, okay, so when you see this study attempted, so you know that this person is writing it in the past tense. Okay, this study attempted to investigate the experiences of international students towards stereotyping inside and outside campus. The purpose of this study, so sentence number 1 is setting the background. Okay, all right, so introduction. The purpose of this study was to explore quite a number of grammatical errors there. Explore students' experiences on stereotyping and common challenges faced by international students. Okay, so that's the purpose there. This study employed qualitative method as the mode of inquiry, and semi-structured interviews, okay, again, were conducted with 5 postgraduate students of IIUM. Okay, so this is at master's level. Huh? So now you have the purpose and you have the method, employed qualitative inquiry, and the instrument used. And of course, you have to identify who your participants or respondents are. Who are they? Okay, you give a little bit of information about your intended or the respondents that you have dealt with. The respondents came from different countries and majors of studies. Finding from the study showed that the international, okay, so this is the main finding here. Okay, right, so this until here, these are the main findings. Finally, this study concludes with some suggestion. Okay, so this is what you are advised not to do. Finally, this study concludes with some suggestion. So what is it? We know that you are going to recommend and you suggest, just write this one main suggestion or recommendation. Okay, do not do like this. This study concludes with some suggestion and recommendation. Although it is also common to find that kind of sentence in an abstract. So I would avoid it. Okay, I would avoid this sentence altogether and put in the actual recommendation. Okay, right, so that's an example of an abstract. Okay, so remember the your proposal consists of how many chapters again? Let me check with you. Consists of how many chapters?
5.
5. Okay, any more answers?
For proposal, 3 chapters.
3 chapters. Okay, any other answers?
Nope.
No answer.
5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Now, 5 chapters is the whole thesis. Okay. At this point of time, when you defend your proposal, you haven't done your data collection. So you don't have anything to work with. No data collection unless you have done your pilot study. Okay. So you don't have a concluding chapter because you have not started. Proposal consists of Proposal consists of chapter 1, which is the introduction and all the important information in chapter 1. Chapter 2 is your literature review, relevant literature review in the area of studies. Who have done what and what is not there. Okay, so literature review, chapter number 2. Chapter number 3 is your methodology. What is your design, research design? What is your paradigm? What is your setting, respondents, sampling techniques? So all that in chapter 3. Okay, and maybe you want to end it with limitation or delimitation, or the credibility and reliability of your instrument or your research. Only 3 chapters, yeah? Okay, 3 chapters. I have not come across any proposal which is okay, which contains more than 3 chapters. So proposal only 3 chapters because you don't have your data, you have not started, you don't have a discussion chapter yet, and you don't have a conclusion chapter. Okay, so 3 chapters only, unless I don't know in any special case that you need to do more than 3 chapters. Okay. Okay, let's go on to the, okay, so before we go on to the introduction, do you have any question for me?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay. Right, so let's go on to introduction. The introduction generally covers the following elements. Number 1, state the research problem. Okay, so again, before stating the research problem, you have to give a background to your title. Let's say your title is happiness. Let's take the happiness. Happiness, the relationship between happiness, wealth, and spirituality. Now, in the introduction, you have to do something like this, from big to small. Okay, so have a generic introduction. So what you mean by happiness in general, and what you mean by happiness in your study. What do you mean by wealth? Although in chapter 1 later on, at the end of chapter 1, you have the terms of reference of definition of terms, but then in the introduction of your chapter 1, in chapter 1, you have to give a background. Don't start. You have to start the engine first. Huh? Don't just put in gear 1 or 2 and drive. Okay, make sure you set the reader to the setting. So what is it? What is this title all about? Okay, and how much you want to write, it all depends on you and your supervisor. How much do you want to write the introduction chapter, the introduction to the setting? Okay, so give a good introduction, a setting, so that whoever that is reading will have an idea. Okay, this is about this. All right. Okay, once you have said, once you have finished writing the introduction to your title, then you want to, you want to connect the introduction to the problem. Okay, so you may want to state, let's say, the relationship between happiness, wealth, and spirituality. What are the relationship between these 3? Then you have to, maybe you want to do a research on on this topic. Maybe with let's say people who have retired. Okay, you want to know, and you want to relate the introduction of why. What is the problem with these retirees? Probably they do not, and you have, if you can, you have to state the statistics of happiness. How many percent people are unhappy with their life after retirement? Can you get that data? Of course, you can get that data. And why? Maybe some of it, why are they not happy? Okay, so get the statistics. Why? Because we want to show this is a valid problem. The retirees, okay, so they do not actually, there is no relationship between their spirituality and their happiness, maybe. Okay, it all depends on what you want to do. Okay, so what is the problem there? So like I said, let me reiterate what I have mentioned earlier. A lot of students, they are not able to identify the research problem. They will just say there there are a lot of, let's say, take another I'll take another example. Let's go back to the culturally responsive teaching. Okay, so a student will, let's say an example, teachers are not aware of CRT in the classroom. Okay, and finish. So that is the problem. My problem is teachers are not aware of CRT. That is not good enough. That is not good enough. So where do you get the problem from? Where did where does that, what does that come from? Okay, so what is actually driving you to actually do this, to untangle this problem? So you have to have the drive. What is the drive of, you know, doing and trying to overcome this problem? Okay, so with that, you have to have some kind of proof that you have read on this area. For example, CRT. You have to have evidence saying that this is still a problem. Okay, understand what I'm saying? Did I go, you know, round and round? I hope you okay with my explanation. Okay, so let me rephrase that. You have to provide evidence to the research problem that you are trying to solve. Why is it a problem? Is it still a problem? If still a problem, who has said that? Who has mentioned that this is a problem? Let's say a research has mentioned that this is a problem, and has that research overcome that problem? Let's say you are looking at a different angle, and how that became a problem. You have to explain. So in order for you to identify a good problem, you have to have good evidence. Okay? Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Okay, Prof. I have questions to you, Prof.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. For introductions, how many paragraphs or page that we need for a good introductions for proposal?
Okay, thank you, sister. I have only started with the problem statement. Not yet. I haven't gone into all the minute details of everything. Okay, but never mind. Just to answer your question. Okay, let's say it all depends again on the mode of your study. Okay, and the mode of your, if you are doing full research, I would say, anyway, yeah, introductory chapter is very important. And normally for a PhD student, okay, you have to at least have like 10 pages. 10 pages, what I mean by 10 pages is if you use Times New Roman, point number 12, 1.5 spacing, 10 pages. 1 page only. One side, I mean, one side, 10 pages. So that's how comprehensive your introductory chapter should be. And for master student, you can write slightly shorter than that, right? Because for PhD, you have to prove that your, you know, you have to have a more rigorous or a more complete or a more thorough research objective and research question. Okay? Sister, just wait until I finish chapter 1, then we will go into the details. But for now, let me just give you a rough idea of how many pages. So 10 or more, and all depends on what you want to write there. And probably we do not want to exceed 10 pages. Okay, now, so going back, any other question apart from that? No question. Okay, so once you are you are satisfied with your problem statement, then provide the context and set the stage for your research question in such a way. Why A is a capital, but it's okay. Now you have got the problem. Yes, the problem is there, and the problem is valid. The problem needs answers. The problem needs to be overcome. Right. Now, in order for me to overcome or try and find answers to that, to overcome that problem, I would need to have my purpose. So what is the purpose of purpose and objective? They are slightly different. Yeah? The two are slightly different. Purpose is more generic. Okay. So what is the purpose of this investigation or this study? Okay. And then once you have written the purpose, then you go with that purpose. You are going to try and put and write your research objectives. So a lot of students have come and asked me, do I write my research questions first or my research objective first? Well, it's okay if you want to have vice versa. It doesn't matter. But for me, I would want to see your objectives first before your research questions, because the objective and research question, they come hand in hand and they have to be aligned. Okay, research objectives, research questions must be aligned. Okay, right. So we are going to try and get some example of that later on. So once you have identified your purpose, okay, the purpose is this, and then you go on to your research objective. That's the objectives of this study or investigation are number 1, number 2. Okay, how many have you? Doesn't matter. Not too many, right? Of course, RQs and ROs, research. These are to be discussed with your supervisor. Okay, don't do it on your own, because or you need to have a continuous discussion with your supervisor to get your ROs and RQs approved.
I'm sorry, madam, to disturb. I just wanted to notify Sister Aisha Nasir, your camera is on.
Okay, right.
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you for that. Okay. All right. Now, moving. Okay. So once you have identified the ROs and RQs and they are aligned, don't worry if you are not sure what aligns means. Okay. What do you mean by align? Okay, never mind. Don't worry about that. We are going to go on to that later on. So once you have got your RQ, ROs, then we want to know about why is this important. Show its necessity and importance. Why? So that is the significance of this study. Why do you think that study is important? Who will it benefit? Okay, this study is important because probably you want to say that not many studies have been done around this area, especially on the topic that you want to do. Number 2, who will it benefit? It will benefit the community. It will benefit any stakeholders. It will benefit who? Okay, so that is the significance of the study. Why is it important? And you have to really write the significance clearly. Okay, in order for the examiner or the reader to really understand what you're trying to say and why it is important to do the study. Okay, present the rationale of your proposed study and clearly indicate why it's worth doing. So that again is the significance. Briefly describe major issues and sub-problems to be addressed by your research. Okay, so for this one, this is optional. If you want to describe the major issues, you should go back to your problem statement. Then you can put this, describe major issues in your problem statement and sub-problems there. Okay, some students have more than one problem. I mean, research problem, not personal problem. Okay, all right. So if you have the main research problem and you have sub-research problem, then we know that that particular research is going to be quite lengthy because there are a lot of problems you want to try and overcome. Again, you have to decide whether you want to have sub-problems or not, or if the sub-problems are related to the main problem. Okay, you decide then of that problem statement that you want to write. And how long is the problem statement? I cannot say that you can write one sentence, of course not. So normally problem statement, although it is called a problem statement, the statement of a problem is one line, but then you are going to provide evidence to that problem and the context of the problem to your research. Then maybe you want to write it in, let's say, 200 or 300 words. Or some people, some students have written a research problem in you know, a page that will be good enough, but no more than one page. If you write too long of a problem, because then it will tell me or the reader that there are just too many problems. Then when there are too many problems, you are not able to identify the problem that you want to tackle in this research. Okay, so be careful with writing too many problems there, because you do not want to get your research to continue in 3-4 years, because the problems have not been overcome and the problems have not been you know, you have not completed the writing, let's say, the instrument to actually to overcome that problem. Okay, so be careful with that. Okay, problem statement again. What is the specific controversy? Well, controversy, okay, it all depends on the area that you want to do, but most importantly is the issue. What is the issue here that I need to address? What is the problem? What is the issue? Maybe the issue here, one very common issue now is the issue of online teaching and learning. Okay, students are doing, even the internet, you are going to have your classes online. So the issue here probably is the problems of online teaching or the challenges of online teaching and learning. So that is the one that I want to address in relation to a bigger issue about the topic. Maybe you want to know about strategies and whatnot, yeah? But the issue there is a valid issue that online teaching and learning probably has caused a lot of distress and many students you know, experiencing depression, maybe. But if you are saying that, you have to provide evidence. Where did you know that a lot of students have gone into depression because of online teaching and learning? We need that evidence. If you can provide that, then that's very good. Okay, but you cannot just say the problem there is a lot of students are depressed because of online teaching and learning and stop, nothing more. So that is not a good problem statement. Yeah. So why is this problem important? Okay, so why is it important? Because let's take the depression again. This problem is about, if it's not tackled or if we do not have a good strategy, then students are bound to you know, be depressed more, or it will actually affect their studies, or it will affect their well-being, and so on and so forth. So why is it important? You have to justify, or you have to reason that out. How will my study add to what we already know about this problem? So that is the gap. Okay, so students will come and ask their supervisor, I really don't know what gap means. What is the gap? What is the gap? Okay, so the gap now, it can be the gap of the methodology. It can be a gap of that particular title. It can also be a gap. Somebody is speaking? No. Okay, so continue. Now, you know that, let's say you want to do about online teaching and learning, then you know now there are just too many articles, journal articles, newspaper articles. If you Google, there are just too many. Okay, too many. Not quite a number, but many studies on online teaching and learning and challenges and problems. So if you want to do this, okay, if you want to do this, I want to do on online teaching and learning, but the gap here is probably no one or very few have done on the impact of teaching and learning onto, let's say, career path. Or nobody has done the impact of online teaching and learning to mental health. Even that, I think quite a number of research has been carried out to see the relationship between online teaching and learning, online teaching or online learning to mental health. Okay, so you have to, in order for you to do this, you have to read more. Don't just, I want to do this and I just Google it up and no, that will not do it. You have to read because you are in postgraduate studies. So it is required of you to read. Okay, so you have to read. There are we have a library. Our library is very rich with resources. Okay, so of course you can borrow journals, books, and stuff like that, as well as you can get journal articles for free on, you just Google it up. But then Googling is not good enough, but you have to read more. Why? So when you say, what do I already know about this problem? So probably you are making a note or, whatever that you are doing. So this person has done this, and what is the finding? Researcher B has done this, and what are the findings? So when you know the findings and probably the method that they have used, then you know that you will be able to know, okay, nobody has done on this one. So that will actually be your research gap. What has not been done, or has not, but very few has done it. Okay, again, when very few has done it, you will ask again, when somebody has done it, isn't that not a gap? No. So if very few has done it, every research will have a different setting. Your setting probably is IIUM or your Malaysian public universities, or maybe in your own country. The setting is your gap again, because somebody probably has done it, but in a different setting. Somebody has done the relationship between online learning and mental health in Malaysia. In Malaysia, for example, the whole of Malaysia. Okay, and then you want to do the same. I want to do I want to know the relationship between online learning and mental health, and you use the same Malaysia. Then that cannot be done, because what is new here in your study? Okay, you have to identify what is new, but of course you don't write it. The new thing in, no, you just write what has been done and what has not been done. That's why you're doing it. Okay. Now, who will benefit from what I learned about this problem? So again, this is the significance of the study. Who will benefit? Teachers, academics, or curriculum writer, bankers, or organization management, and so on and so forth. So you have to identify who will benefit when this research is completed. Okay. Moving on. How does the research problem differ from other parts of the research? Okay. What do you think? How does this research problem differ from okay, how does this research problem differ from your RQ, research question? Anybody can answer me? Problem statement and research question. I think I have already mentioned that earlier, but I just want you to, anybody at all, to just tell me what is the difference between problem statement and research questions. Anybody? No one is brave enough to answer?
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Who is there?
I'm Siti.
Yes, Siti.
Okay, I think the main difference is the research questions are the one that's very related to objective. How we gonna achieve that? But as the research problem is just a general. I think it's vague. It's not very specific towards what we're gonna focus on. It's just like, oh, this is the existing problems. But when the research questions are the one that how we gonna answer to answer to achieve our objective. I think.
All right. Thank you, Siti. So true. Okay. So again, problem statement is the issue. What is the issue? The big issue. Okay, the big issue. But then your research question are specific question that you want to overcome. Okay, so that's true and good, Siti. Well done. Okay, I think we are done with this. What is the purpose? The purpose is the major intent objective. Okay, so we know that already. Okay, so again, like I mentioned just now, you have the problem. Okay, so before you write the research problem, you you have the research problem, that is the issue. So and then you are going to write your purpose. The general purpose of this is to, let's say I take the online teaching and learning. Okay, so I have the a major issue here because major issue is about online learning and mental health. So that is the problem. And my purpose is to identify the factors contributing to the mental health due to online teaching and learning. Okay, so that's the main purpose, very generic. And then you go on to your RQ. So you are going to write, maybe if you are doing qualitative, you want to identify the perceptions of certain people about learning in an online mode, or you want to find out to what extent does online teaching and learning or online learning affect mental health. Again, when you say mental health, there are a lot, that's a big issue. You have to identify the variables or the certain issues in certain elements about the mental health. So you cannot just say mental health. Maybe we want to take one small one, that is depression. So to what extent does online learning To what extent does online learning affect or maybe leads to depression? Okay, so that is a very specific RQ that you want to try and get answers to. Okay, to what extent does online learning lead to depression? Something like that. Okay, so that is a big research question that needed answers. Okay, but maybe with that research question, you have a smaller sub questions you want to ask. Okay, all right. So that is how purpose is different, or the differences between purpose and your RQs. RQs or research questions are specific. Purpose are more generic. Okay, right. Moving on. Identify the key independent if you are doing quantitative. Identify the key independent and dependent variables of your experiment if you're doing experiment. Alternatively, specify the phenomenon you want to study. So the phenomenon here, or the issue here just now, was is the online learning and depression. State your hypothesis if you are doing quantitative. If you are doing quantitative, you need hypothesis or theory, if any. For exploratory or phenomenological research, you may not have hypothesis. Meaning here, if you are doing qualitative, you may not have hypothesis. Normally, qualitative, you don't have hypothesis. Maybe you have assumptions. Maybe. All right. Set the delimitation or boundaries. Okay, so this is where a lot of students are confused. What is limitation? What is delimitation? Okay, limitation you can't control. Delimitation you can control. So what can I control? What can't I control? For example, let's say you want to do a ethnography. Okay, you're doing qualitative. You're doing ethnography, but you are doing masters by research. And ethnography needs more than like 2 years. Maybe because it is ethnography, you have to be immersed in the field. And then you have only 2 years. Let's say you are getting a grant, or you are getting a scholarship from somewhere, and you only have 2 years to complete your study, but you are doing ethnography. This is something that you can't control. Okay, so first you have to avoid that. You have to avoid doing ethnography when you fairly know that you don't have much time. Ethnography needs like 2 or 3 years. All right, and then another one is time. Maybe time, maybe financial constraint. Can you control your financial constraint? Let's say you are given this scholarship for data collection. Let's say you are given like 1,000 ringgit for data collection, and you need to go around, let's say Malaysia, to collect your data with 1,000 ringgit. Can you make do with 1,000? Of course not. So that's why you can't control. That is your limitation. So your limitation would be on your respondents. You only can get respondents from maybe Selangor or KL, because you only have that specific amount of money to use, and thus it becomes your limitation. Okay, so delimitation is, I give you an example, something that you can control. For example, I can get, if I want to do a semi-structured interview with 5 students, I make up my mind, I made up my mind, I want to only get 5 postgraduate students as my respondent. And then, and you mentioned that there are 5 respondents, and the delimitation is probably your sample is too small for a qualitative. Okay, so you can actually decide to have more. Like, okay, so I think it's too small. Maybe I want to have 10 instead of 5. So that is something that you can control. You make decision. Okay, so something that you can make decision on, that is your delimitation. And where should I put limitation and delimitation? Normally, in a proposal, in the first chapter, you write your limitation. But this is not hard and fast rule. You can write your limitation, delimitation, either in chapter 1 or chapter 3. It doesn't matter. Okay. Or you can put your limitation in chapter 1 and you can put your delimitation in chapter 3. Okay. But what I want to emphasize, do not write too many limitations and delimitation. It means that there are a lot of problems in your research. So we want to highlight the most important problem for conducting this research, that is some 1 or 2 limitation or 1 or 2 delimitation. So if you are still confused, I would suggest that you go on and read or Google limitation and delimitation. But of course, when you want to read this information from Google, get it from writers that are established writers. Don't just get it from a web page that you don't know where it comes from. Okay, maybe you want to read from a journal. Okay, a lot of journals are they have open access that you can read. Okay, is it clear with limitation and delimitation?
Yes, thank
okay.
you.
Okay, so once you have written that in your chapter 1, okay, before providing key concept, that is the definition of terms, some, for PhD especially, some supervisors, they want you to write a conceptual framework. So what is conceptual framework? What is theoretical framework? So I would just explain it very superficially. Yeah, superficially. Conceptual framework is the concept of the whole research. Okay, so what is the concept of your whole research? What are the important information of your whole research? Okay, so and then maybe you want to put it in a graphical representation. Okay, the concept of your, or the framework, or the concept of your research in a conceptual framework. Theoretical framework will come in chapter 2, where you have the theory that you want to use in your research. We will talk about later on. Okay, so conceptual framework is optional. If you, especially for those who are in PhD, if your supervisor wants you to have your conceptual framework in chapter 1, okay, please do it. All right. Okay, and then once you are done with that, you may want to provide the definition of terms. Okay, so how many definition of terms? It all depends on the important keywords about your title, about your research, about the words, the keywords that you are going to use that will help. Let's say non-specific. Okay, a person who is not in that area, when the person reads your definition of terms, that person would understand. Okay, for example, if you are, let's take back the relationship between happiness and well-being and spirituality. Okay, so those are the 3 main variables that you're going to do, or that you are going to use throughout your research. So you cannot avoid but to write the definition of terms of what happiness means. And this definition of terms must be taken from reliable source. Okay, according to who so and so, happiness means this. But if you are not going to write the whole definition there, so what we want is the definition that you are going to use in your study, because probably happiness can be defined in so many different ways, but in this study, happiness is defined as this one according to that person. Okay, so you have to say that, and you have to write down the maybe a reference. Okay, according to so and so, happiness is this, and this is the definition that is going to be used in this investigation, in your investigation. Okay, so and then if you have done that, the happiness and the spirituality, and then there are some other definitions that you are going to use. Maybe not the theory. The theory is in chapter 2 that you are going to define and you have to explain. Others, for example, you want to use SEM, for example. So in your definition of terms, you want to mention what SEM is, and how maybe SEM has one definition. So just write that definition there, that you are going to use this in your study. Okay, so and how many, it all depends on I think not more than 20, less than 20 on, but don't write only 1, 2, 3 or 4, because of course if you're doing PhD, you have more terms that you are going to use. For masters, maybe about 10. Maybe. I'm not saying that it is must, but it's not a must. It is optional. But normally, an examiner will ask you, where is the key concept that you are using? Where is the definition of terms or terms of reference? Okay, so you have to have that at the end of your chapter 1. Okay. All right. Okay. So moving on. Now, we go on to chapter 2, that is literature review. Okay, and this is done in a separate new page. Do not continue from your the page that you have done your chapter 1. Fresh page. Okay, fresh page. So start a literature review. Okay, so you prefer separate section. Okay, the literature review serves several important functions. Number 1, ensures that you are not reinventing the wheel, meaning this is not something new that you're writing. Reinventing the wheel meaning you are writing new things that are not available elsewhere. So we write review of literature because we want to know what other researchers in the area that of your title, in the area that you are doing, have said. What have they found? Although probably their research is slightly different from yours, but then they are related. So this person has done this, and this is the result, and this is the year, and this is the journal or the book or whatever that they have written it in. Okay, so before you write the whole literature, I would suggest that you have like a table. I normally ask my students to write a table, to provide a table of, you know, let's say A, B, C, that's the researchers. This is the title of their topic of their research. What are their findings? Okay, and I want to know what has that got to do with your title in a table before you actually write the whole literature review. Okay, so what is the students, they write literature review is just like they go on, you know, shopping. Okay, I want that, I put it in my basket. Oh, I want that, I put it in my basket. Okay, and then you suddenly you realize, oh, I don't need that, I take it out and put it. No, it's not that. You are not going shopping here. Okay, so what you are doing is you are going to have a systematic review of what has been done in your area, okay, in the area of research. So that's why it's quite important that you know and the literature is current. So normally when we write literature, especially those who are doing in IT, okay, technology, we do not want any literature that is obsolete or any application that is no more in use, not available anymore. So that's why it's 5 years. Even if you are using APA, writing convention, you have to have 5 years and above. 5 years and meaning not more than 5 years. So now it's 2021. So you cannot have, avoid having literature which is 2015 and below, unless that is classic. Classic meaning the research is still, researchers are still using the theory, using that reference, because no new research or no new theory has been put forward. So that's why you use classic. For example, those in education, if you want to use, let's say, let's take Vygotsky, or let's take Pavlov. Okay, the dog and the saliva, Pavlov. I think that theory will be used throughout, because even if someone has someone came out with a new theory, not the dog and the saliva, probably the cat and the tail, maybe they have certain reaction. So we still use Pavlov, because that is the first person who has identified the reaction to new stimuli. For example, if you the dog and the saliva and the bell. So when the bell rings, the dog salivates. So that is what Pavlov has said, and I think that is classic. You cannot have somebody new who are using the same thing, the dog, the bell, and the saliva, and put a new name. You cannot use that. So for that purpose, it is classic, so you can still use. But then if you are referring to journal articles, make sure they are 5 years and above. Okay? And quite a number of theses that I have, when we had Viva session, quite a lot of examiners have mentioned that your reference are dated. What is it? What does it mean by your reference are dated? Meaning that it's too old. Don't you have anything new? That's why we want to find a gap. So the gap is recent. So that's why you use recent journals, unless you can justify why you want to use that, let's say, 10-year-old journal article. Maybe for you it's important because it really serves to maybe it sheds some light in your own research. So whatever that you do, you have to justify. So going back to literature review, we need, first of all, you need to have like a spreadsheet. Okay, this is like not really a spreadsheet. You do a table and see what's there, who has done what year, which journal, what are the findings. Okay, so maybe you are not going to use all, maybe you are going to use only a few. So that will help you a lot in this in determining which literature you are going to use. Okay, it gives credit to those who have laid the groundwork for your research. Of course, when you use and when you cite other people's work, you give credit to them. Okay, so do not plagiarize, meaning you use the other people's idea, but you did not, or you do not acknowledge. So that will lead to plagiarism, which is a very very serious crime in academia. Okay, so you need, and of course, when you submit your proposal to your supervisor, they will run it through Turnitin. Okay, Turnitin will tell the supervisor how much have you taken from somewhere, how much is the similarity of your work to other works. Okay, so we will put that in Turnitin. Okay, demonstrate your knowledge of the research problem. Okay, so again, when you in the literature review is where you are going to, from the issue, what is the issue just now, and the issue is written in your the issue is written in a proper manner in your literature review. Okay, so and of course different people write differently in literature review, but what I suggest is for you to look at several theses or a number of theses and dissertation and have an idea. Have an idea of how other people have done it. Oh, if you look at different theses, okay, this literature has done it this way, or that one has different that way. So what is the best way that you want to write your literature review? Okay, so the bottom line is literature review is to inform the reader what are there in out there in your area of research, what has been done, okay, and what is new maybe, right? Because later on you are going to relate the literature review, not in the proposal, when you have written your discussion, and in your discussion you are going to relate your literature review to your discussion, to whether they jive, whether the theory is actually the thing that you are doing, or maybe something that is different from the literature that you have presented earlier on. Okay, so that one later. But for proposal, you write the literature related to the issue, the problem, the argues that you have set in chapter 1. Okay, right. Now demonstrate your understanding of the theoretical and research issues related to your research question. Okay, I have mentioned this already. Show your ability to critically evaluate relevant literature information. So this is where a lot of students find problems. So in the literature review, they just put the literature and the issue, and you are not actually evaluating the literature, whether or not that literature actually justifies. It justifies and it is connected to your own research. Okay, so there is a way of doing it. How do you actually evaluate, or how do you actually do a critical review? I think if you start your courses in one of the 2 courses that you are going to take in your kuliah, you are going to have a session where you are going to critically evaluate literature. So it is a very good practice, because when you start to critically evaluate, then you will be able to write your literature smoothly. So when we say to write a critique, we are not pinning somebody down, we are not finding faults, we are not finding the weaknesses. Maybe weaknesses of the something. But then when we say critically evaluate or do a critique, we want to know the first, the credibility of that person writing. We want to know the credibility of the paper itself. How do you know the credibility? Which means you have to read more. When you read more, you know, oh, why did the person write this when something is, let's say, 2 people are writing on the same topic, but the outcome is different. So you have to evaluate. which one is more relevant to you, which one has less relevance to you, okay, to your research. So this is something that is mostly missing when we read a lot of literature review, okay, to evaluate critically, not just dump in information in the literature review, okay? Burhan, what time should we finish, Burhan? 11?
Yes.
11. Oh, okay. So let me go faster. Now, indicate, okay, provides new theoretical insights or develop a new model. So this one later. Don't worry about theoretical providing new conceptual framework, blah, blah, blah. That one later. Because once you have got your literature review in place, then you will be able to identify what is not there in your based on your research. I want to do this, and some people have done this and done that, but what is not there? That is for you to identify. If you can identify that, that is very, very good, okay? It convinces your reader that your proposal will make a significant and substantial contribution to the literature. For example, resolving an important theoretical issue or filling a major gap in the literature. So let's say you are doing on mental health, again, on the happiness, mental health, and also spirituality. So you find that a lot of literature has mentioned about happiness and wealth, happiness and stability, happiness on something. And maybe happiness or spirituality is very, let's say, although there are plenty out there, a very few in your own setting. Then you have to mention that not many literature has written about the relationship between happiness and spirituality. Okay, and maybe you want to come up with a framework of happiness and spirituality. If you can do that later, that is excellent. If you can do that, okay. Okay, so now method is in chapter 3. Okay, before we do that, again, I am sure that many of you are going to ask me, how many pages is the literature review? Is that correct? I'm sure it's correct. You want to know how much or how many pages. Okay, now literature review is about things that have been done, I would say, and then you have to mention about theory and things that that you want to mention about your area. I would say that literature review will take about 15 to 20 pages for PhD, or maybe more, okay? For me, when I was doing my PhD, I had 2 chapters on literature review, 2 chapters, but don't do that. Okay, you want to have only 1 chapter for literature review, and that will be about 20 pages or 30 pages for maybe PhD more. For masters, you have to have like 20 pages of literature review, or maybe 15 pages, because we want to have a comprehensive review of who has done what in this area. Okay, all right. Let's go on to method. We don't have much time. Method section is very important because it tells your research committee how you plan to tackle your research problem, and it will provide your work plan and describe the activities necessary for the completion of your project. Okay. The guiding principle for writing the method section is that it should contain sufficient information for the reader to determine whether the methodology is sound. Okay. Furthermore, since there are no well-established and widely accepted canons and qualitative analysis, your method section needs to be more elaborate, okay, if you're doing qualitative. So now, first of all, what should you have in a methods chapter? First of all, you need to have your research design, okay? So what is research design? Research design is what design are you going to use? For example, are you going to take on qualitative inquiry? What kind of inquiry? Are you going to do only quantitative inquiry, quantitative approach, or you are going to do a mixed method, which is the combination of qualitative and quantitative? And then again, especially for those PhD students who are going to do mixed method, you have to comply with what kind of mixed method. Okay, so this one you can learn more in your research methods course. Of course, you are going to, all of you, because you are new, you are going to take research methods or advanced qualitative and advanced statistics, so that once you have got a good background, a good idea of what they are, then you can decide what design that you want to do in your own thesis. Okay, so you have to identify your design, and then once you have done that, you want to tell the reader what kind of researcher you are. What am I? I am a constructivist. That is the paradigm. I am a constructionist. I am a positivist. I am a post-structuralist. I am a structuralist. So all this, I know. Don't be afraid of those words. It only means your position as a researcher and what you believe. Okay, so maybe you are going to later on take subjects on this, and you know what kind of researcher you are. For example, if I am a constructivist, okay, I believe that new knowledge will be constructed if there is interaction between two people or one person with another. Okay, so the new knowledge can be constructed in that way. So that is very superficial a way of explaining what constructivist is. But you have to, especially those who are doing PhD, okay, those who are doing PhD, you have to know what kind of researcher you are. Although you are only starting, but this is a good platform for you to start learning, or for you to start thinking of what kind of research. I am good with numbers. I like doing, research with numbers, so I want to do quantitative. Maybe you are a more positive person. Okay, right. So those are paradigms. And then once you have got the research design, you have your paradigm, then you go on to your population or your respondent. Who are your, or maybe first is your setting. Where is the setting? Where does your research, where will it take place? Okay, again, yeah, in the proposal, you have to use future tense because this is a proposal. So you have to use the word will and all this model auxiliary, will, would, could. Okay, so, but then once you are done with the proposal, and it's already, you have already defended, you can no more use this will model auxiliary, because you are going to use it. Okay, that one later on. Okay, so that's in the language part. All right, so we are done with setting. Then you have to have your population. Who will be your respondents? If you are doing qualitative inquiry, you have to give a little bit of explanation of some biography of your respondents. And then once we have the respondent, now you are going to also include your sampling and sampling technique. Okay, so what kind of sampling are you doing? Stratified sampling if you are doing quantitative, a lot of other sampling, purposive sampling, Okay, so don't worry about this. All these terms, you are going to get it in your research method course. Okay, so but we need a sampling and sampling techniques section in your methods. After that, then you are going to have your data collection method. How are you going to collect? No, you have your instrument first. Okay, what are your instruments? If let's say you're doing qualitative, you're going to do semi-structured interviews or observation. You are going to look at images, pictures, or you are going to look at documents. But if you're doing quantitative, you are going to use SPSS, Excel, whatever. Okay, so you have to identify what your instruments are. Okay, all right. So once you have identified your instrument, then only you go on to your data collection procedure. So you have to, especially, I think everybody will have to do that. What is the first step? First is to get approval, or maybe ethical. Okay, I'm going to talk about ethical conduct in a while. Maybe to get approval. So what is the next one? You want to do pilot study, piloting your instrument, and then you want to do the main data collection. How are you going to do it? And then after that, once that is done, you are going to look at the evaluative process of your instrument. For example, if you want to know whether there is credibility or reliability of your instrument, and for qualitative, you want to know the trustworthiness, the confirmability, transferability, all that. That is important because it will determine the credibility of your research. Okay, and finally is the ethical conduct. Okay, so ethical conduct is how will you, because this is a plan, how will you maintain ethics? For example, one, you have to get the consent of your respondents. If you are doing a qualitative, you have to have a consent form for them to sign, and for them to acknowledge that they can in any time at any time they back out, or they do not want to be your respondent anymore. So that is one ethical consent that you need to do. For those who are doing quantitative, you are going to distribute to people you don't know. Maybe there is a section before on top of your survey that this survey is done voluntarily, okay, not by force, or because it is a survey, you don't have to have names or any kind of information about the respondent. So it can be it can be somebody that you cannot identify. So we want to make it you maintain anonymity. Okay, you don't know who they are. So normally in quantitative. All right. So once you are done with ethical consideration, I think, have I missed anything? I think you're done for a proposal. That's it. As easy as that, isn't it? Okay. Now, do I have any questions?
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikum salam.
Okay, I'm going back to the chapter 2
Okay.
for the literature reviews. I have 2 questions for this chapter. So how many papers that you think that we actually gonna get like enough evidence like for our literature review? And the second question is the journal impact factor is important?
Okay, who is asking, please?
I'm Siti Zubaida.
Okay, Siti Zubaida, thank you for the question, and they are valid questions. Okay, now, when you in the literature review, we cannot determine how many. when you start reading later on, you will know what I mean, because from one literature, it will bring you to the other literature and more and more and more and more. You need to know, okay? You need to know who and how much do you want to put in literature, because we do not want the literature review to be a page upon page of citations and also quotation. No, that is not what we want. Literature review is a section where the examiner or yourself, you as a writer, you want to know what has been done. And then we do a lot of synthesis. Do you know what synthesizing means? You do a lot of synthesizing. In that, quite a number of researchers have written similar articles or similar topic, but what you have done is you have understood all these different topics, and then you write it in your own words, but the idea is the same. Then you synthesize. You synthesize the idea. So when you do a synthesis, you have to have many names, right? So I cannot tell you in synthesis you have to have 10. No, it all depends on how you have done your synthesis. And then I cannot tell you you should have 100 citations. No, cannot be. It all depends, because it all depends on your on the research question that you are going to you want to seek answers to. And then those are the literature you are going to read, literature on those items. Like, for example, we go back to happiness. There are so many articles, journals on happiness. But what do I want? Do I want to write everything in my literature review? No, I do not want. I want to actually sift the information, which is just right, and synthesize it with my own investigation. When you write the literature, you have to show that this literature is something that is related to your own study. Always say that. All right. So to answer your question, how many? I cannot tell you how many literature you should have. And what I can, like I said, what I can say, more or less, you have to have like 20 to 30 pages of literature review. Okay, maybe it's too long. I don't know. Maybe it's too long. Maybe, but do not write too short a literature, because it won't tell the reader who has done what. Okay, and then your second question is. The second question, just hang on a minute. Can you find it there? Oh. Okay. Second question is what again, Siti? Siti, what's the second one?
It's the general impact factor.
General impact factor. Okay. Now, this is a controversy. It's a controversial issue. Impact factor. Well, to me, I personally feel what is in the journal article that is important to me. Okay, but to some organization, impact factor is important. Why? Because it will determine the credibility of the writers or the researchers. Okay, so and you have to know impact. Who came up with impact factor? What is the organization who came up with impact factor? What is the idea behind impact factor, right? So do we want to think about that? But to me, what is important, the content of the journal is valid. How do you know it's valid? Because there is a mention about the rigor of the analysis. There is the mention about the procedure of the analysis, which is important. When you know that it's rigorous and they have done it in a way that it maintains the credibility and reliability of that research, then you know that that research is reliable. That research can be used. the impact factor is just that, what is just? Impact factor is good because those who are writing, or the papers that have been published by impact factor, you know that those are quality papers, because it has gone through a very a very strict procedure in order for them to be published. Okay, unlike the journal that you don't know, maybe not peer reviewed, but I would suggest that at least when you use a journal, the journal is peer reviewed, then you know that there is a credible in that. So do not worry about citing from a journal with impact factor. If you can, go ahead. If you can't, you just identify whether or not that particular journal, the content is good for your research. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, Siti.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Yeah, Waalaikumsalam.
My name is Omar.
Yes, Omar.
I want to ask one question only.
Okay.
How is your own way to choose the best and good quality of journals when you want to do the literature review? Because for me, I feel like it's hard. Because my old way of doing it, I go into one by one website and also Google Scholar, but some journals are not in Google Scholar. So how you?
Okay. There are various ways of if you use through my experience, I have used various approaches, but I think the best approach is to do a systematic review. Okay, and systematic review will tell me, because with systematic review you will know what kind of journal from where, and because in that journal, the journal itself will tell you what kind of impact, which index, whether it's index and non-index. So I normally will go for index journal, okay, whether it's peer reviewed or whether it's Scopus, WS, or ERA, the Australian research. So I am not really particular to have an article that is has the most impact factor. What I want to do, for example, if I am right now I'm doing research on cultural intelligence, for example, yeah. So a lot of articles written on cultural intelligence, that topic alone, a lot of articles are of impact factor. They have impact factor. So I have found very few of the CQ or the cultural intelligence topic in journal which has which is not impact factored, that kind of label. But then, how do I do it? Okay, how do I do it? First of all, you know your area, you know your research title. Okay, so this is one, again, another tip that I want to give you. Okay, so don't just rely on journals, because they will give you the content, but you want to know who has done research or who has done masters or PhDs in this area. Okay, who has done masters of or PhD thesis in that area, so that you know, okay, they have done, because with masters and PhD thesis, there are more details, but in journals you don't have those details, right? They even have the interview questions at the back of their thesis and whatnot. So you can go on to any thesis, or this is if you want to go to open online OA open access OA thesis and dissertation. I think I already mentioned this before. open access thesis and dissertation, OATD, not OOTD. I know the girls like OOTD, but this is OATD, open access online thesis and dissertation. So when you go to the website, you just search for your topic. For example, you want to do on happiness and spirituality. Then it will tell you who has done thesis and dissertation, masters and PhD in this area, not only here in Malaysia, but all over the world. Okay? So this one is very helpful. That's one way of me to answer Omar's question just now. I want to know who has done it. So I go onto this website. I want to see who has done happiness and spirituality. Oh, this person has done it in 2010. Oh, that person has done it in 2019. So you have the most recent and most, the earliest. So that's one way of how I see what is in, if you find that there are so many theses on that title and you know that topic is almost, probably is popular and too many people have done it. Okay, so that is one way of, telling you how and then of course in a thesis you have the comprehensive literature review, and so when you look at the literature review and you look at the references at the back, it will bring you to a whole new level, a whole lot of new information. So that's why I always propose or always suggest to my supervisors to look at OATD. Okay, Omar?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Yeah.
Okay. Burhan, we don't have much time, do we? But okay, we can open to more questions. It doesn't matter because for language, for academic writing, I'm just going to take not too long, about half an hour.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam. Who is speaking here?
My name is Saiful.
Yes, Saiful.
I am postgrad on master's level of education in guidance and counseling. Okay, let's say I am about to write on a relatively new topic, and there is no whatsoever new topic, no literature review ataupun very limited literature review, and no whatsoever thesis written about that topic. So should I rely on, let's say there's only newspaper resources that only newspapers resource that are available. So using that information, is it wise or is not suitable? That's my question.
Okay, thank you, Saiful. I will answer this with another question for you. Do you want to stay doing masters for 10 years, Saiful?
Of course not.
Do you want to do it in like 1.5, 2 years?
Oh, that's pretty much
the plan, right? That's the plan, right?
My objective lah.
Okay, so if that is the plan, don't kill yourself with all this unnecessary burden on your head.
Yes.
You know okay. So
I get you.
I just want to talk about a new topic, a new research. Okay, for example, let's say somebody in the health department, they want to write about the new vaccine. Okay, and the vaccine is very new by Pfizer, and the vaccine is only completed like a few months, 2 or 3 months, and not much is written. So what are you going to write? What is the problem? You want to know identify the problem of the vaccine. How are you going to identify it? And where is the literature review? No, right? You only get literature review.
Very limited.
Very limited. And this is the pitfall. In that, when let's say if you are doing my research in your defense, there will be a lot of questions. It's not that we are not supposed to write on new, we can. It depends on the area of what we want to do. Okay, Saiful, let me ask you again, what is the new topic, the new area that you want to do, Saiful?
I have yet to make any decision upon that, but in a few months ago when I was working as an RA, I came across, as in helping several students doing their assignments for research methodology. So many of the students they came upon this kind of trying to make a new framework or design a new research framework whatsoever. So they came on this stumble upon this wall of brick. They couldn't get upon this hurdle. So I was asking in future so that I won't be in the same position. That's just from my standpoint lah. Like that.
Okay, right. Okay, so I understood what you were trying to say, but then again, my question is, this is a statement. You don't have to necessarily have a framework. When you do a research, you don't have to, at the end of the day, you have to come up with a new framework. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be proposing a new framework. Maybe you are using the existing framework and maybe you want to add a little one or two elements to it.
Improving it.
Yeah, improving it. So that's why a lot of students have they stop, they stumble upon this and they stop doing it because I cannot come out with a new framework. You don't have to do that.
Yes.
Right? So again, if it's totally new, I would say, as a novice researcher, you are novice, you are beginning, avoid something that is totally new and there's no literature review and very limited resources. I would suggest that you do something not too common, but something that is current and doable. Quite a number of literature has been written about that. So that is my advice to you. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Any other? Excuse me. Any other question?
Assalamualaikum. It's me again, Siti Zubaida.
Okay. Yes, Siti.
Okay. So I don't know if you have mentioned this, but if I'm writing my research proposal, who is my audience actually? Like, is it like people in my area, or do I have to assume that I'm writing it for the general population, to the public?
That is a very, very good question, Siti Zubaida. And I did not mention the audience, which is very important, right? So if you are in postgraduate study, okay, and at this point of writing proposal, now your audience, number one would be your supervisor, number two, your external examiners, number three are your friends who are going to listen to you and maybe you want to share your proposal with. So these are your audience because this is only a proposal and it will not go to the mass. Okay, of course you do not want your, let's say, proposal which is like not so perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. Not so refined. You do not want to share it with others, right? So for now, for the research proposal, these are your audience. So you are writing for examiners. You are writing to pass. You are writing to, although this will be the stepping stone onto your next step. But for now, I'm not talking about thesis yet. The complete thesis, the complete dissertation, that is a whole different audience. All right. So now for proposal, your supervisor, your external examiners, your friends who are in the same area. So these are the people who are going to listen to you, who are going to probably read your proposal. So have them in mind, meaning when you write, it has to be as clear as the sky. Okay? As clear as crystal. We cannot say as clear as the sky because some skies are very cloudy. All right? So as clear as uncontaminated water. Okay? So that's my answer.
All right. Okay, got it. So I just want to avoid using jargons in my like proposal or presentation later on. That's why I kind of know, I kind of want to know, is my external examiner, is it in my area or is it not?
Okay.
So that I'm not going too much
Right.
jargons during my proposal. Or...
I understand what you mean. So let's say you are in medical sciences. If you are in specific banking, for example, you are in Quran and Sunnah, for example, you cannot avoid from using jargons because that is your area. You cannot avoid. But then remember when we have the session on definition of terms. So that's where the main jargon has got to be explained. All right. And then again, of course, the examiner for your thesis, if you are doing full research, the examiners are, we are not taking, if you, what course are you, Siti Zubaida?
I'm doing medical sciences, master.
Okay, you are doing medical sciences. Of course, you do not want to have me, a person in education, as your examiner, right? Because I do not know anything about medical sciences. Your supervisors or potential supervisors are the ones who are well-read in the area. Your supervisor will know. Okay, your supervisor or your committee will then propose a name who is, who knows a lot about your topic. So don't worry about them not knowing your jargon. But in any way, in any case, specific jargon has got to be explained in the what? Definition. No.
Definition. Okay.
Definition of terms. Literature is a whole new thing. Definition of terms. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Okay. Burhan, should we continue or what?
Up to you, Prof. If you want to take a break, can.
Okay. If you have any questions, I would like you. I propose you give it to Brother Burhan. Okay. Just channel it to Brother Burhan, and maybe Burhan can then give it to me. Okay. And I will try and answer as much as possible. Okay. For now, thank you very much for listening. Can we take a 5 minutes break before we continue to the next one?
Sure.
Okay. I will switch off. I will turn off my video for a while. Yeah, 5 minutes. Now it's 10:30. I will start at 10:30. Now it's 11:30. I will start at 11:35. If that's okay with you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
See you in a bit.
For your wonderful presentation on proposal
writing. Thank you, Burhan. I think you were the one, the moderator for last year, Burhan. Were you not?
Yeah. I remember.
You're still the one. Have you finished? Almost finished, Burhan?
I'm preparing for defense.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, 5 minutes, everybody.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, Brother Burhan.
Yes.
May I know why the chat is disabled?
Yeah.
Just in case.
We can't chat.
Okay, let me check.
All right, thank you.
Can you try it right now, sister?
Yeah, now it's able already.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw a lot of messages.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So, Brother Burhan, if I have more questions, so I just direct message to you, right? For the questions?
Yeah, can.
Okay, thank you.
You can text in the chat box also.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Brother Burhan,
Yes, brother.
how can we access to the slides?
If Prof give me the slide later on, I can share it with you guys.
Oh, sure.
Please
Where will you share?
write down your email and WhatsApp number, please.
Sure. Thank you.
Welcome.
Assalamualaikum, Brother Burhan. Can I ask you a question?
Waalaikumsalam. Sure.
So for the kuliah based ta'aruf, is there any ta'aruf for kuliah of medicine?
Let me check the schedule.
Okay, because I couldn't find it on the Facebook page.
So they only mention other kuliah also, or
All kuliah but kuliah of medicine.
INHAT, IUCAL, KHS, KICT, IRK, kuliah. Oh, so I have to ask CPS.
Sister, you can direct to us your kuliah. Since we didn't receive any from the kuliah on the dates, so you may ask directly to the PG office.
All right, thank you, sister.
Assalamualaikum, Brother Burhan.
Waalaikumsalam. Yes,
My name is Azim, doing Masters of Architecture.
MashaAllah.
I would like to know how can we add our subject in the iMaklum,
You want to add your subject?
as in for this semester.
I think the subject automatically added in the system.
Oh, so we don't need to add one by one on our.
Yeah. If you register for the semester, so department automatically added your subject.
I think, brother, we need to do period. I just do period just now. It's open on 17.
Sorry again.
I think we need to do period because I just do my period just now, just around 10 minutes ago, and I have to add it by myself. So you just have to do the period. It is already open since yesterday.
Dear brother, kindly refer to your kuliah for the study plan. You need to get the study plan first, then you can register the subject.
Yeah, you have to understand your study plan. You cannot just add everything. You have to, arrange your subjects, and then you can add at the prereq website.
Assalamualaikum again. So the recorded videos, when will be posted on the YouTube or the Facebook page?
Already, I think video recording is available in Facebook. Our
Is it the IIUM Postgraduate Student Society?
Yes, exactly.
Yes, sisters. Once we edited the videos, and
Okay.
inshallah we will upload in the Facebook.
Okay, so is haven't uploaded yet, right?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Brother Burhan,
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you, as you are one of experienced PhD students or PG students, in terms of collecting data. For example, if you want to conduct interview for a
Yes.
selected sample of a group,
Okay.
do you face any difficulties on enticing them, and what sort of what we call that incentives that you offer to them, so that they are willing to to answer those questionnaires? I mean, from your experience, you encountered that experience?
I actually don't have like this experience because I didn't take any interviews.
Okay. Okay.
So, but I heard from other PG students because due to COVID-19, previously they can do face-to-face interview and then
Yeah.
ask all these things. So they face now the problem they cannot go to the place, some places. So they are doing online.
Yeah, online.
Or by mail, through WhatsApp group and Telegram group like this.
See. Did he face any difficulties in like enticing them to answer the questionnaires, and what sort of incentives they give? I mean, from my experience, in the real corporate world, they have to like spend a lot of money. For example, like touch and go that is valued at 50 ringgit or 100 ringgit, just to entice them. If not, they would not enticed to answer the questionnaires. So I think yeah, that's if if we want to conduct the interview, then we have to like consider that as well. Especially in the midst of pandemic, we can't do face to face interview, right? So yeah. So we need a lot of money as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Can I just share my opinion on that? I think that depends. That depends on who would be your interviewee. If your interviewee are students, I think they would understand. But if you are interviewing the public, then that would be another thing that you need to consider on your budget.
Yeah, correct. Agree.
Who do you have in mind to interview?
For me, I would want to interview SMEs, the SMEs and the industry players.
Oh,
As in
okay.
banks, Islamic banks, yeah.
So I think your biggest hurdle is to get the permission first, right?
Yep.
That would be the biggest hurdle for you. I think once you have that, then it might not be much a problem, because I think now people do not like to be interviewed face to face. So if you can have like a GM interview using Google Meet, using Zoom, I think they would like that better. So then it might not incur so much cost for you if we can have online interview, because I might be doing the same thing, but then again, because I'm from education, so the population for my interviewees will be students. So I think bagi voucher RM10 tea life pun okay kot. But for
Okay.
you it will be a different
Yeah,
thing lah.
a bit difficult because from my real experience as well, when the consultants want to interview these SMEs, they wouldn't want to even reply if we don't give them rewards, like even Grab food voucher for Grab food, right? So then only they will respond to you. Even with bank's permission, right? PDPA. I mean, yeah, depends on the banks as well lah kan, macam whether they want to, how far they want to help assist us in doing this study, doing this interview. Yep, correct.
How many do you have in mind to interview?
I'm not sure. Still in the midst of discussion. Yeah.
Hopefully tak adalah ramai sangat.
Itulah, okay. Itulah sample. I mean, you want to know what is the right sample size for your thesis or study or research is also is something you have to think of.
Right, because on my part, it is suffice just for me to interview 6 people. Or maybe another thing that you can think of would be using focus group. That would save a lot of money, I think.
Correct,
to
yeah.
have, it's just that the challenge of focus group is to transcribe later on.
I see.
But for transcription, I think there are quite a number of softwares that we can use, including YouTube.
SPSS, is it? YouTube.
No. To transcribe.
Transcribe.
Not,
Okay.
transcribe.
Transcribe
So,
the interviews, right?
Is it a thematic analysis?
No, that
just-
one is analyzing the transcription. This is when after interview we have to type to transcribe, right?
Oh, okay,
So
got it.
that is the biggest hurdle for qualitative people.
I see.
Kalau kita interview. So there are many. I think one of it, if you are using Google, ada one I haven't tried, but I have downloaded. It's called Firefly. So when you have any Google Meet interview or Google Meet meeting, you can actually have this this software to transcribe our interview or meeting. So it will be automatically done. Another one is Author AI. Author.ai, and in fact from my research, I think one of the best way is if we can use YouTube. We upload our video to YouTube and YouTube will automatically transcribe for us. But the downside is that both the interviewer and the interviewees have to speak excellent English, or else YouTube will not understand.
I know that. I think in Google Meet also, Microsoft Teams also have that. If you record meeting and then it will transcribe the what we have discussed, and they cannot recognize certain words. So, I think that's what you have mentioned. Is that right?
Yes, correct. About transcription.
Author.ai and Author.ai and Firefly, right?
Correct. Firefly is for Google Meet.
Okay, thank you.
But I got to know one from you. Microsoft Teams can automatically transcribe. I haven't tried that.
But that one you have to have the account. I mean, the organization has to subscribe to that, and then I think then only they can transcribe the discussions.
Okay, I think I'm going to interrupt you there.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Azza, for helping out with new students. I listen very closely to your conversation, and I know these are some of the valid questions new students ask, and probably you still haven't, because you haven't gone to classes. And Sister Azza is my supervisor. She is the director of SMART. At the same time, she is a lecturer, English language lecturer at CELPAT, and also my supervisor doing, Azza, you are doing cultural intelligence, are you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, she has a lot of information, so it's good to get in touch with her. Yeah? And she is the, if you don't know SMART, is the student, what is SMART? Student self-access learning, something like that. So she is the director. So she knows a lot of stuff. So it's good to get in touch with her. Okay. So
thank you, sister.
Okay. So let's do very briefly on language in academic writing. Okay, especially when you want to write your proposal. Okay, and I think a lot of students have a problem in what is this? Oh my God, no, wrong. Language in academic writing. Okay, fine, good. Okay, so some students feel that, okay, I will deal with the language later. I just want to write the content first, and probably later on I will deal with language, or maybe I send it to a proofreader and whatnot. But okay, so as a researcher, as a student, you cannot always rely on proofreader. And then this is another problem when you send to proofreaders who are not in your area. Okay, proofreaders, they proofread generally, okay, looking at tenses and, but if you can find a proofreader who is in your area and probably know about the thing that you write, that would be better. So that one is something later that you can think about. But for now, as a researcher, as a postgraduate student, you have to be able to write, you know, decently, at least a decent type of writing. But I think when you are here, you are already on this. I'm not sure whether you have to do English or Arabic. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to talk about that. But when you are here, meaning you are able to write at least a decent way of writing. So let's look at some ways. Okay, some ways. So I'm not saying that you have to, but these are some suggestions that you can follow in order for you to write your, especially your proposal, and it's easily understood. Okay, right. So like I said before, just now in the earlier session, you have to know why you are here. You have to understand what is expected at master's level or PhD level. And by now, how long have you been in, how long have you registered? Maybe 3 days, 4 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, or a month? Okay, so let's say you have been here for like a month. And you know that I'm doing my master's or PhD because of. So I don't want to know your reason because of, but you know this is the responsibility of a postgraduate student to produce a decently quality writing. Okay. Although maybe you are going to write in Arabic, or you are, I don't know whether you can write in Bahasa in this university, but you are either going to write in Arabic or in English. So you have to have a decently good command in that language. Okay, so and know how to use an appropriate academic writing style. I think all of you have undergone first degree, and you have done some sort of report, first final year report, some kind of action research. Probably you may have written something. All right, and you know that kind of writing is not the writing that you read from blogs is not the kind of writing that you read from newspaper. Newspaper is journalistic writing. So you are doing academic writing. They are totally different. Not totally different, they are slightly different, because writing for a newspaper is about getting people to be engaged, to be engaged, and to be wanting to read different parts of the newspaper. That's journalistic, because they can write around the bush and finally get to the point. But in academic writing, you cannot do that. You have got to go straight to the point, okay? And you have to know what kind of, whether it's first person writing, third person, you have to know that, right? When can I use first person? When can I use third person, all right? And of course, if you are doing qualitative and quantitative, again, the writing is slightly different. But I think when you are constructing or writing your proposal, they are similar, okay? Because a proposal is you are going to propose an academic work. So we do not want grandfathers, grandmothers kind of phrases, or you know, or even catchy. Book titles can be catchy, but academic work mostly is very straightforward. Okay, so that's why academic writing is slightly boring, but what to do? We are in academia. Okay, if you love it, you love it. All right. Okay. Know the difference between an essay and a report. Okay, so if you're writing an assignment for a specific topic to your supervisor, your audience is your supervisor. And then that's the only person who's going to write your essay. And then if you're going to do a report, what kind of report? Whether it's, let's say, it's a technical report, whether it's a feasibility report, or whether it's a research report. Okay, again, when we write the different kinds of report, we use slightly different lingo, all right? But of course, whatever writing that you're doing, your tenses should be sound, your tenses should be correct. And know the different section within a report. Okay, let's say, let's say you are going to write a proposal, all right? And you know there are 3 chapters in a proposal. You have to know chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Okay, so those are the different sections of your proposal. And of course, at the end of it, you are going to have references. And if you have appendices, what are you going to append? Okay, and we do not want the proposal to be as thick as a thesis, right? Okay, so be wary about the length of your writing. Okay. Okay, so I think you have done this at a certain level. What are you expected to do at master's or PhD level? And maybe you want to, of course, okay. So this is my advice. Maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, people have been saying postgraduate studies is a lonely journey. Those days, there is no social media. There is no Twitter. There is no Instagram, right? So you are basically writing and doing your research on your own, or probably people, your friends around you. Okay, so now at this point of time, at this in 2021, postgraduate study is not a lonely journey. That's why you have to always communicate with people. Although maybe you are an introvert, because I am an introvert, I don't really speak to people. But then, who are you communicating with? You are communicating with your supervisor. You are communicating, you are trying to communicate with your examiners. So those are your audience. But most importantly, you have to have not a selection, you have to have a group of friends, a group of people who can actually somewhere, some people that you can talk to and maybe get information or exchange ideas. So very important at postgraduate studies, postgraduate level, you don't do it alone. All right. If you are, even if you're a loner, try and get someone to talk to. Okay. Very important. Okay, masters and PhD. Never mind, masters here, and it goes together with PhD as well. Now, you are expected to demonstrate knowledge of practice. What is the practice? Practice here is the practice of in academia, in writing. Apply theory to practice, analyze relevant material, evaluate theory and evidence. So all this we have discussed in the first section. Synthesize, reflect, critiquing, critically reflecting. All this we have discussed in the first session, yeah, how to critique and all that. Okay, now deep and surface learning. Okay, maybe I want to touch a little bit on this one. What does a deep learner do? What does a surface learner do? And you can identify, you are going to tell yourself, what am I? Am I a deep learner or am I a surface learner? Okay, you answer that on your own. Okay, surface, concentration on assessment exercises. Okay, that's one. Surface, yeah, at a surface level. Passive acceptance of all ideas. You are like a sponge. You get everything and keep it. Okay, passive. Routine memorization of facts. Okay, seize small chunks, little by little. Ignore guiding patterns and principles. Lack of reflection about underlying patterns and theories. So that's why, whether you do it online, do it in on your computer, laptop, or if you are good at writing, I would suggest, if you have the time, you just record yourself. Record. You don't like to write, you record. Just record your reflection of the day. Say for at the end of the day, let's say after dinner, when you are about to retire to bed, take your handphone and reflect on the day. Okay, what have I done today? I think I have reviewed 2 articles, but there is not much progress. I don't know what I was reading. Okay, maybe I talked to 2 of my fellow friends. We exchanged ideas, and I got new ideas. I talked to my potential supervisor. We have agreed, blah, blah, blah. Every day, let's say 2 or 3 minutes. Just why? Why? Because you want to see progress. Okay? You want to see your progress. And you say, oh, that will take space on my phone. Do it some other way. Write it if you like. So if you do this, you can actually tap your progress. So for in the mid-February, I said this. So let's look at the end of March. Is there any progress? You are actually looking at your own progress, not other people's progress. You care about yourself. But of course, sometimes we do care about our friends around us, and we want to help each other. So you can be a pacer. So where are you now? So we are supposed to be at this point. So what can we do? So that's why I say it's very important to communicate. So reflect, do a lot of reflections. Little attempt to understand. You just take in without understanding. You have to understand. At this postgraduate level, no one is going to tell you whether you understand or not. You are just going to do it, whether you understand or not, but you have to understand. May not see patterns or connection, minimal preparation for classes, which means that before you go into classes, as usual, before you go into classes, you have to read a little bit so that whatever that is presented to you by the lecturers, you know a little bit because you have read. Yeah, but I know not every time you can do this. You have to make time. Okay, so those are surface approach, and then let's look at deep approach. Deep approach, effort to understand material for themselves, critical and thoughtful about idea and information, relates idea to own previous experience and knowledge, relates evidence to conclusion, examines logic of arguments, interested in wider reading and thinking, ongoing preparation for classes. So this is basically a deep approach. A person who uses deep approach is a person who reflects quite a bit, right? And if you think the more you read, the more you don't know, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. I always have that. Why didn't I read this one first? You know, the more you read, even a small piece of information, sometimes it can shed light to some other bigger ideas, right? So, but if you think when you read, it will only depress you more. It will only cause you to say this. I don't like reading. So there is a problem there. You say that you don't like reading and thinking. Okay. So the importance of improving language skills. Are you a deep or active language learner? Okay. So you don't have we don't have time to really do activities today. So think about yourself. Are you deep or active, or are you a combination? Quite a number of you may say that I am both. I am a deep surface learner. I am also a deep and active language learner, as well as sometimes I fall into that category. So that is normal. But then always reflect. Okay, reflect. Okay, ways to improve your language: interact with many different people as possible. Okay, this is normal. I always ask my students, what is the name of your university? International Islamic University, Malaysia. Okay, that's the name of the university. I have asked, mostly I ask undergraduate. Okay, you have been here 4 years. At the end of your 4 years, do you have any international friends? How many have you got? When was the last time you interact with an international person or international friend? Tell me. Oh, we don't have time. Blah 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 blah. You have been here for 4 years or for 10 years. You only have one international friend, and just because that person is in the same mahalah as you. That is not good. You are in the International Islamic University, whether you are international students, whether you are local students, this is the place for you to get as many friends as possible, to interact with many people as possible, learn a bit about other people's culture, the way they live in their country. So this will at least enhance your communication. At the same time, it will actually improve your language. Make an effort to always speak English, even with friends. If you're writing in English, that is. Okay. Learn language in chunks. Okay, there are so many videos. There are so many many ways of improving your English on YouTube and many other platforms. Watch TV, listen to music, read in English. Make sure you have a good English dictionary. A dictionary is at your fingertips right now. You can always ask, if you have an iPhone, Siri, what's the meaning of this? And Siri will tell you, right? Yeah, Siri is actually answering my question. Never mind. Okay, so there are a lot of ways in which we can improve our English. Even at this point of time, I have been teaching for 33 over years. 33. I've been teaching English for over 33 years. But I'm not ashamed of saying that I am learning every day. I am learning new things. I am learning new vocabulary. I learn from my students, especially. Okay, I learn things that they tell me. I learn new things. I learn from my mistakes. Okay, so that's how we learn. If you are not communicating, how do you know that you have made a mistake, right? Okay. What will some of these features of academic writing be at master's and PhD level? So at this point of time, you are writing your proposal. You are preparing your proposal. So you are only concerned about chapter 1, how do I write it, chapter 2, chapter 3, what present tense or past tense, first first person pronoun or third person, blah blah blah. Okay, so those are your main concern. Now, the other thing that you have to identify is that academic writing, like I said, is not journalistic writing. The language of academic writing has to be clear, concise, and neutral. Okay, and we use APA convention. APA, if you know APA, I think you know APA. We use APA writing convention. They have just released the 7th edition. And you have to quickly skim and scan this edition because there are some changes. For example, I will tell you one example that I am quite surprised of. That is gender neutral in writing. In writing, gender neutral. APA 7th edition. When they say, normally when we want to write, this goes the same with he or she. You use the gender, right? He or she. Sometimes students only use he to mean he or she. But in APA 7th edition, you are not supposed to write gender. You have to write gender neutral, which is there or they or their, THEIR, depending on what you write. Okay, so this is something new and I am not so used to it and I have got to get used to it, and you too. Okay, so don't think these are all going to be done by your proofreader. They are not going to look at APA 7th edition. Okay, you are going to look at it. Okay, so that is the language, clear, concise, and neutral. And then you are going to, material is to be well researched, meaning before you start doing or writing chapter 1, 2, 3, you have to read, like I said just now, what have people done, what theses have been produced in this area, the one that I gave you, OATD, who has done what, and also from journals, so that you know where to put things. Okay, appropriate theories should be used. Okay, especially so PhD students. What does PhD means? Doctor of Philosophy. Okay, PhD, masters, you can listen to this. Doctor of Philosophy, but there is no philosophy in your writing. That is, so how do, we do not want you to be philosopher, but then your writing must represent a deep thinking, meaning when we read, we know that you have read. Okay, so especially when we read, we want to know the style of writing, so that when we read, we will read it smoothly, especially when you have your examiner reading your thesis before your viva. Okay, it should be supported by relevant literature, or literature should be correctly what is it? I can't say correct. I think all literature should be correctly what is this? Can't see it. Okay, you have to correctly acknowledge, okay, and or reference or cited. Okay. Okay, academic writing is formal and follows some standard conventions. Like I said just now, we are using the APA convention. If you do not know what APA, I suggest that you go on Google APA 7th edition, look at the different convention, how to cite, how to quote, how to put a table, whether the table, the title should be on top, whether it should be italicized, whether it should be bold. So all this, although it's very, I would say it's tedious, but you have to know this because you are going to be academic soon. And you are an academic already at this point. Each academic discipline has its own specialist vocabulary, which you will be expected to learn and use in your own writing. Of course, the jargon that we mentioned. The following convention are general guideline for academic writing. Be sure to follow and be specific about it. Let's say if you are writing and let's say you are in IRK, maybe they do not follow the APA. Because I know quite a number of researchers, quite a number of professors in IRK, they use, instead of APA, they use Harvard and Chicago convention. They're different from APA. So you have to know what kind of convention in your own kuliah, okay? But generally, in Malaysia, all the public universities, they use APA convention. Okay, well, we don't have to answer this. What's the point of academic writing? The point is you want to get through your PhD and master's, okay? But most importantly, the substance of academic writing must be based on solid evidence and logical analysis and presented as concise and accurate argument. It is not an informative writing. Whatever research that you are doing, you have to provide evidence. All right, evidence can be in the sense of citations. It can be in the sense of quotation, and any kind of evidence that you can provide, so as your argument can be valid. Okay. Academic writing can allow you to present your argument and analysis accurately and concisely. Okay, point taken. How is it done? Aim for precision. Don't use unnecessary words or waffle. You know, some students, they like to use this word, that word. There are very straightforward words, but you chose some, you know, I want to say impress. I want to impress my supervisor. I want to use all these different words. And you use the thesaurus to get the, you know, thesaurus will actually recommend some similar words, but you have to know that thesaurus is just suggesting words that are similar, but it doesn't mean they mean the same. Okay, Shaima, raise hand. Yes, Shaima.
All right, I had this question.
Yes.
Since a very long time. We write Bachelor of Arts, Master of Arts, but why not DPH for PhD? Like, why not Doctor of Philosophy? Why don't we write PhD?
Okay.
Why do we write PhD, not DPH?
Okay, Doctor of Philosophy. Well, we are actually following the West. Okay, we're doctoral studies is the Doctor of Philosophy in a sense, right? But then when we follow the because it started, well, it started from us actually, Islamic world. Didn't it? Yes, right? But then at one point in time, the world focused on the academic of the West. So they started philosophy of writing, although we have our own renowned philosophers in the Islamic world, right? Okay, so why is it not Doctor of Philosophy, but then PhD? It actually means the same. It's just the acronym, PhD. The D is the doctoral studies in philosophy, but you write it in such a way, okay? Unless you are doing doctoral in education, then you do not have, well, you have a doctor, PhD, Doctoral in education is EDD. Okay, a person who's doing at a PhD level, but specifically about classroom teaching and learning. So somebody, that person opts to do EDD instead of PhD. So, but it is the same. PhD means doctoral of education, but it is not written that way. It's written PhD. Okay, Saima?
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So going back, try and use very specific and straightforward sentences and words, and do not try and impress anybody, because maybe the way you want to impress, but you are getting into trouble. Okay. If there is any uncertainty about a particular point, use cautious language such as, okay, these are all what I said, model auxiliary. Okay, this is what doctoral or master's level writing is all about. I know a lot of students will state their claim. This, okay, for example, girls are better than boys in mathematics at certain age. So that is a big claim. Girls are better than boys at mathematics when they have reached puberty, for example. So that is a big claim. Okay, when you have such a claim, you have to have evidence. All right. So if you don't have evidence, because this is from you are writing this unless you are taking it from somewhere else. So if you think this is from you, this sentence comes from you, and you don't have any evidence, then we want to tone it down. The tone in academic writing is very important. We do not want to be so argumentative that you think that you are the only one that is correct, that right, nobody else is. We don't want that. And you want to say that, look here, I have found this. You have to listen to me, something like that. Something to that, something like that. So we want to avoid that. Okay. So how do we tone it down? So we use model auxiliary. Okay. Girls may be better at math than boys before or after puberty. So the word may is actually, the word may there is actually is helping you. Okay, because you are not saying yes, you are not saying no. So that's why what we do here, this is what we call hedging. H-E-D-G-I-N-G, hedging. So that we have a neutral tone. But you have to remember, when we use hedge, or when you hedge, you do not want to overdoing it. Because if there are so many mays and mights and could nots, you may sound uncertain, you may sound unsure if you are overdoing it. May this, might this, could, couldn't, So if you overdo it, you are in a position of being uncertain of yourself. So that's why you have to use model auxiliaries like this sparingly. Okay, when I say sparingly, not too much, not too little. All right. And if you want to read more about hedging, there is one book in our library, if it's not been borrowed, on hedging. Okay, you can read it more. And that book is only one, and it's very expensive. One book is about 600 or 700 ringgit. Okay, just one book. And we don't get it many in the country. I don't know why. Okay, so if you want to know about hedging, go to the library and find it and read it. Very important. Okay, unless you are a confident writer. Are you a confident writer? Yes? No? No? This is not a good question to ask, right? Because you're not going to answer me. Okay. No comment. No comment. Why no comment? This is a simple question. Are you a
Not yet, not yet, not yet.
Not yet. Alamak.
Soon,
not yet
soon,
macam mana? Huh? Going to be there. Okay. Say lah. I may be a confident writer in time to come. See? See? Did I hedge? Did I hedge? I did. Okay. If you say, I am a confident writer. Okay, show me the proof. So that you may feel very, you're a bit scared there, right? So, unless you are a confident writer, it is best to avoid over long sentences and aim for a mixture of long and short sentences for variation in rhythm. Okay. This is, I think, the English language teachers, English language lecturers, they always make this point. Do not write too long sentences, right? Because it can be overrun. Run-on sentences, not good, right? So when you write, I know there's so much here. There's so many things that you want to write. Sometimes the pace, your typing pace is not as quick or as fast as you're thinking. So sometimes you are trying to write something and you miss some model, or you miss some maybe tenses, or you miss some words, but you know what you're writing. But the person who's going to read, okay, the person who's going to read is going to crack his or her head, right? So try and avoid overly long sentences. Okay, if someone writes to me like that, I will put a big fat red mark on that. Those who are doing it with me, I'm quite garang. You know, those who don't know what garang means, I'm a bit fierce. I'm fierce as a lioness. Huh? Lioness girl. Okay. No. I'm good at heart, but it's okay. But you have to know that when you write, have this in mind. Okay, you are going to try and get people to understand. So if, let's say, if you're writing something, if you have brothers or sisters, or you have a wives or husbands, husband. If you have parents, if you have your grandparents, write something, give it to them, tell them, do you understand my writing? If they say, okay, I understand what you're trying to write, then you are good enough. No, you write something, get someone who is not in your area, ask them to write whether they understand, understand the content, understand what you are writing. Try that, okay? If they understand, then that's good. Now, we're not talking about tenses and whatnot. We're talking about the way you write, okay? Avoid repetition. Okay, so sometimes, okay, this is what I normally get, especially in the literature review. According to A, this, and second paragraph, Brown says da. Third paragraph, Smith says da. You know, you start with a name of a person. Like I said, are we going shopping somewhere? Brown and Smith and whatnot. Are we going to have a meeting or something? No. So, you vary the way you, let's say you start a paragraph with according to somebody, they say this. Okay. The second paragraph, do not start with according again, because it is, when you do this repetition, it's very boring to read. Understand? Understand what's the meaning of boring? That's the meaning of boring. When you have a repetition of the same words that you use, especially when you have the same connectors. Moreover. A, There are so many other things. There's so many other words to indicate moreover. Furthermore, in addition, nevertheless, blah, blah, blah. So many things. Okay? Don't just say moreover, moreover. Ay, 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 ay. So you know, the person who reads, your supervisor at this point is very, you know, the health is wealth, health is good. Reading, writing something, not you, I'm not saying about you. Somebody wrote like that, quickly the blood pressure goes up. Right? Because why are you writing like that? Okay, no, I'm not trying to belittle anybody. No, this is for us, even for me. Sometimes I told myself, why am I writing like that? So I have to change. So you are going to write consciously. Sometimes you are so into writing, you become in trance. You are writing, but you are not aware of what you're writing. So always reflect on what you have written. Again, at the end of the day, before you go to bed, just say, my writing has improved today. Or my writing has gone from bad to worse. Oh no. Then it's something that you have to reflect, right? Okay. So when we want to use connectors, you want to use any words, try and vary them up. Okay. Avoid overly elaborate language. Okay, this is what I want to use, a word that I think my supervisor will be impressed. So I use bombastic language. Don't ever do that. Okay, so this is academic writing. Bombastic writing or narrative kind of writing, if you are doing like literature, you are doing a biography, narrative writing, go ahead, do it. Okay, if you have that flair of writing, go ahead if you are in that particular area. But then the rest, like you are doing, especially in medical sciences, right? You have to be spot on. You have to be right at the when you write, so that the person who reads can easily understand. Okay. Using overly elaborate language can make your writing seem pretentious. Always. Technical and specific language. Use technical language and words specific to your discipline where appropriate. Like we said just now, we have mentioned this, I have mentioned this. When you use jargon, don't worry, the person who's going to read will be in your area, but if there is any specific jargon, you have to explain it in the definition of terms. Okay. However, it is wise to avoid convoluted phrases. These are the run-on sentences when they are too long, and terms when writing about general information. Okay, so try and avoid long sentences like that. Okay, everybody, are you looking at the screen now, everyone?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, now I want you to read this short paragraph. I give you 1 minute while I look at my messages.
Oh, dia ada negative ni lah, negative words kat sini.
Wait, just read it first.
I think the usage of fat is not really scientific, maybe obese or something else.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now we open for discussion. Okay. You said fat there is not appropriate.
Yes, yes.
Why is it not appropriate?
It's a very layman word and not really scientific usage, and also
fat is a label. Okay. And it undermines other people. Okay, that's one. More.
I think
usage of fat more than once.
Say again.
Usage of the same word more than once.
Which one? The word fat?
Fat.
Okay.
Yes, again and
Right.
again.
Repetition of the word fact. Okay, what else have you found there?
A lot more fat people die in the USA.
Say again, say again.
Question sentence means like the writer asks, wouldn't it?
Okay. So there is a question there. Okay. Can you ask question? When you write, can you ask question? Of course, in thesis writing, we don't. In thesis writing, we don't do that. But in journalistic writing, we do. Okay. So other than that,
I think instead of using die, it would be proper if it put mortality of I know, like obese people, or the more accurate terms instead of just die is just not appropriate. Like for articles on news, that's fine, but if for like your proposal or in literature, do not use that, I think.
yeah, you have stated that right. So look at this sentence. About 30,000 fat people die. My God, who writes like that?
Tone deaf person boleh lah, doktor.
Who?
Tone deaf person boleh lah.
Not
write
even a tone
article.
deaf person. You cannot write things like the undermining people. You know, about 30,000 fat people die every year in the UK, and loads more fat people die in the USA. Okay, so that sentence is
also, like in the end, they are asking a question as if they don't know the answer of it.
Okay, so we mentioned this already. Do you really need to ask question? We are not writing for a newspaper, and you do not want to write question for your examiners, right? Your proposal, and you asking him or her a question. What is this, right? Okay, so let's look at a slightly refined version of this. Okay, ready? Okay, so let's look at the original. Okay, look at this one. Okay, so here is very neutral, but one thing I don't like about this one is the sentences are long. Okay, I would say the number of deaths per year attributable to obesity is roughly 30,000 in the UK, and 10 times that, 10 times more in the USA or in the United States. Okay, I will put a full stop there. Okay, obesity is said to overtake smoking in 2005 as the main preventable cause of illness and premature death. Okay. Obesity is said to overtake smoking as the main preventable cause of illness. And okay, so in this, if you put it in 2 sentences, it will be fine, it will be good. You see? So that kind of writing, even in the newspaper, you won't get it published, okay? Because it's this is very this is a lot of there are a lot of labeling here, okay? And of course you don't use and loads more. Loads here is not academic. A lot of words here that are not academic. And then if you say doesn't have, okay, in academic writing, people, we don't use contraction. Do you know what contraction is?
Short forms.
Doesn't is does not. So in your academic writing, you write it in full. Okay, for example, it does not have to be. Does not. Again, don't. We don't use don't, use do not. Okay, so no contraction in academic writing. Okay, all right. Next. Avoid abbreviations and contractions. Like I said, on contraction, we want to get rid of all contractions. Abbreviation and contractions are informal and are best avoided in academic writing. For example, department should be used instead of abbreviation DEPT. Okay, don't use any abbreviation like that except acronyms. Do you understand what acronym is?
Yes.
Okay. For example, UN. Okay, UN. What's UN?
United Nations.
Okay, so if you want to use acronym UN, but in the first instance that you use the word, you have to write it in full. United Nations in bracket UN. Okay, whatever abbreviation that you acronym that you are going to use later on, you have written it in full at the beginning. Okay, so we do not want to have like DEPT department isn't ISN apostrophe T, so no abbreviation and no contractions. Okay, now avoid slang words and phrases. Compare the following. Okay, the individual was sentenced for nicking a bike. Of course, in Malaysia, we don't use nick because nick is only used in the UK. We say steal, right? Nick. Oh, am I giving you the answer? Oh, the answer is down here. Okay, the individual was sentenced for nicking a bike. So we don't use nick, we use steal. Okay, the doctor looked kind of worried. The doctor looked kind of worried when he reviewed the case notes. The doctor looked slightly. So kind of is spoken language. A lot of quite a number of my students use spoken language in their writing. That's a no-no. That's one behind me. Who uses spoken language in academic writing? No one? Okay. Avoid conversational terms. This totally changed people's lives. What is totally there? Sometimes when we read this, we think that this is normal, but in academic writing, it's not. What is totally? What does totally represent? Okay, what is totally there? It is a filler and can be omitted. So this changed people's lives. So we don't need this word. I know some people, some students, they just want to reach that 100,000 for PhD, 100,000 words. So they pull every word they can use, like fillers like that, to just, no, you don't do that, okay? Don't use fillers. If it's used for emphasis, a more appropriate word could be used, for example, significantly or fundamentally. This fundamentally changed people's life because you want to emphasize. So the emphasis there is when you use the word significantly. So that is different. Those are not fillers. Those are emphasis. Okay. So you have to know the differences between fillers and emphasis. Avoid vague terms. Consider the following. The right thing would be better expressed as the right action or the right procedure. What is right here? What is that? So a nice addition to the collection would be better expressed as a popular addition to a collection or a prestigious addition to the collection. So this one, vague terms. Okay. Okay, so there is no answer to this. I want you to think about why are these two sentences vague? Okay, so when you write, that's why you have to, when you write, let's say you have written like for 1 hour. Okay, stop for a minute, look at your writing, see whether you have understood what you are writing, and see whether there is any vague terms that you have used. Okay, How can you make writing impersonal? What is writing in the first person? What is impersonal writing? Can you give an example of impersonal writing? Okay, what is the writing? Can anybody ask me? Ask me pula.
Can.
What is writing in the first person? Tell me.
Talking about myself?
Nope.
First person.
Good try, but it's wrong.
Using the word I, we, mean we are looking for my
Correct. Who is that? Very good. Okay, so first person like I, or if there are two, we, especially when you are doing your quantitative writing, quantitative inquiry, you avoid all this first person pronoun. But in qualitative research, you can use I, but of course not we, because your thesis is your work. Your thesis is not your work and your supervisor's work. So you avoid the word we, all right? So you can use I in qualitative inquiry. First person pronoun. What is impersonal? Okay, impersonal is okay, we will go into it in a bit in the next slide. All right, let's look at impersonal writing. Be impersonal. In many academic disciplines, writing in the first person is not acceptable as it is believed to be too subjective and personal. Many tutors prefer, or many supervisors, many professors prefer impersonal language to be used in assignments or in your, especially when you are writing your proposal. Okay, but if you are writing in qualitative, it doesn't matter because it's your work. In qualitative, qualitative people, they are closer to the way they write. Okay, writing in the first person sentences use the pronouns I and we. We have considered. I suggest that. I have observed. Okay, so if you are doing quantitative, this can be transformed into consideration has been given to. The suggestion is made that. It has been observed that. Okay, if something like that, it has been observed. If my student is going to write like that, I will put a circle here at it. What do you mean by it? I want that person to explain. Okay, so that's me. I don't know, that is me. I don't know about other supervisors, because we need your proposal to be very clear. Okay. Okay, so these are types of academic writing. We have coursework. When you start doing your course, those who are doing coursework, even if you're doing bioresearch, you need to audit some courses, right? So you need to do assignments. So academic in coursework, reports, dissertation, more or less, maybe your dissertation and your assignment, you will use similar type of writing. Reports will be different. You are going to do report of what has been carried out, what has been done. So report is different. So once you are finished with your data collection and you want to do your discussion, analysis and discussion, that's when the writing gets a little bit more complicated. How to use, what to use, what tenses should I report in, because it has been done, right? But in proposal, you are going to write it in future. So you are going to use will, okay, future tense. Okay, we do not want to go into what is the differences between essays and reports, maybe not. Academic reports. Is there anything else that I want to? Okay. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to stop there and ask you, and we'll ask you for questions now. I'm taking questions now. This is a very short session on language in academic writing. Because why do I want to make it short? Because you haven't started. Once you have experienced writing, that's the time when you have a lot of questions. And that is the best time for, let's say for me, to have a session with you. When you have started writing your assignments, when you have started writing your proposal, that's good when there are a lot of questions to ask. Okay? All right. Any questions?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. From the start, so far, so good. Until the end, so far, so good. I don't know how far we have been. We have got.
Doctor, my one question to you. I kind of confused when I want to choose kind of tenses when I do any writings.
Okay.
So generally, I do know that I should use past tense when I do reference from others like paraphrasing and also quoting. But after that, and then I should use the present tense, right? When I explaining from my point of view, right? Or just the total of them are using the past tense.
Okay, it's like this. Like I said, you have to be consistent. Let's see in literature review. Okay. According to Brown and Smith, 1986, for example, 1986, that's too long ago. Never mind, you were not even born. Okay. According to Brown and Smith, 1986, or Brown and Smith in bracket 1986, do you want to write stated or state? All right. So listen to me very carefully. If you have started like that at the beginning, Brown and Smith 1986 stated that blah, 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 blah. So which means you are writing your literature review in past tense. So it doesn't matter when past tense follows, unless there is a need for present tense at any point. All right. So if you are writing in the present tense, Brown and Smith 1986 insists or stress. So which means you are not using present past tense, you are using present tense. So make sure it flows nicely. Make sure you are consistent. Every time when you cite, when you want to do citation like that, it has to be consistent. It doesn't matter if you are writing present tense or past tense. But wherever the tenses should change due to the change of environment, the change of voices, then you have to change the tense. I cannot say you when, how, what. We will have to have an example of that. Then I will be able to tell you this is present tense, and now you have to change it to past tense. But
okay, doctor, I give one example. Let's say I'm paraphrasing from one author like Albert 2007 says human needs to drink water. Human needed to drink water.
Okay.
7 times a day. So and then I put nota and then I continue. Hence, generally humans are assumed to drink 7 glasses of water. So that part, can I use the present or I should just consistently?
No. The sentence that you first you said whoever 2007 says that is in the present, right? Because you are writing this in the present. Is that true?
No, I use past tense. Albert 2007 said.
Okay, said.
Human need.
Okay,
human needed to drink.
Human is in bracket. That is the exact exact sentence from Albert?
No, I'm not quoting. I'm paraphrasing.
Ah, okay. You are
Human needed
paraphrasing.
to drink water 7
Okay,
times a
wait.
day. Okay.
Just now you started off with Albert said. Okay.
Yeah, said. Yeah.
Okay. And human needed to. Okay, that's correct. So that's
Okay.
parallel. Okay.
Human needed to drink water 7 glasses a day. Then I put nokta, and then
Full
I
stop.
continue full stop. Yeah, and then I continue. I said because of that, it is assumed. So that one is that one the next sentence can I showed you the present or the past also.
No. It should be in the present. It should be in the present. But the way you put the sentence is a bit awkward. Okay, that sentence is a bit awkward. But anyway, I know what you mean because you said you have started with Albert said. You
Yes.
are referring to what Albert has said.
Yes.
Okay, human this refers to So when you say like that, it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. You have written in the past. Albert said this. Okay, full stop. Although that is not a quotation, but you are referring to what Albert has said. Okay, this means that is your own interpretation of that. So that is in the present tense.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is an example. Thank you, siapa tadi? Thank you for giving us this, Omar, for giving this example. So this is where a lot of students are confused. When do I put a present tense? When do I use a past tense? But anyway, you have to think again. Who is saying what when? Okay. Who is saying what when? And if is this my own assumption, my own interpretation? If I am writing this now, it should be in the present tense. But if you get used to writing it, there will be no problem. Inshallah, there will be no problem. Okay. Right. Any other questions? We have a few more minutes before 1 o'clock.
Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam. Who is that?
I'm Siti Zubaida. So,
okay, Siti Zubaida. Let me stop sharing for Siti Zubaida. Stop sharing. Okay.
All right. So I want to ask if I already finished my proposal and I would like someone to just proofread whatever I wrote. Should I give it to the supervisor or should I just find not give it to supervisor. Just to who can I refer to so they can just proofread my writings.
Okay. So why do I do like that? Why? Okay. Most supervisor will say, I'm not a proofreader.
Yeah.
Okay. Most supervisor will say that. Go and send your okay. Because sometimes supervisors they have quite a number of supervisees. You have to understand that, right? And number two, sometimes this is very common. Even the supervisors are not they are not confident enough to proofread thesis, for example, right? And no time. The duty of a supervisor is to ensure that your argument is sound, the content is good, the flow is nice. But supervisor would not tell you, okay, you have to have ED at this, or no, not the. So it's your duty as a postgraduate student to ensure that before you submit, you proofread. Okay, and again, proofread, not everyone can proofread. Fine, I think in each kuliah, there is a list of proofreaders. So please ask your postgraduate office the approved proofreaders, because in this world, everybody can see anything, right? So be wary of that, okay? Right. Brother Burhan,
Yes, Prof.
If there is no other question, I'm going to stop here. And before I stop, I would like to convey my gratitude and thank to all of you for bearing with me since 9 o'clock. Since 9 o'clock, listening to me, and I am a very animated person, I would say. So just forgive me if there is anything wrong. And I would love to hear from you if you have any question. Okay, you can. I'll type here. Okay. If you have not given your questions to Brother Burhan, you can email to me. Hey, that's all. Oh, okay. Did you get my email there? No. Wait. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Okay.
Participant asking about slide.
I will send to you, Brother Burhan. No, I will send to Sister Damia because I have Sister Damia's email.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, you can send it to me.
Okay, I'll send it to her. All right. Thank you very much. With that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a progressive day ahead of you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof, for your wonderful presentation on proposal writing and academic language. It was a comprehensive and complete guideline for proposal writing and academic languages. Thank you again for your time.
No problem. So I will take my leave now, yeah?
Okay, sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, CPS.
Thank you, Dr. Faiza.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
So thank you all for joining 3 days ARUF webinar. We feel proud of your participation, and we strongly hope that you have benefited from the ARUF webinar and you can apply it in your future research journey, inshallah. So with that, we end morning session here. See you inshallah. Afternoon, we have another session with Professor Dr. Farid Ali about thesis writing. Thesis formatting. Please join. See you inshallah. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Thank you very much.